How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and Twitch still, for now, I think.
Yes.
So, with your favorite show hosts, Ursil.
Fenurian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry and anything else that struck our interest this week. But first of all, if you'd like to get involved with the show, you can do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, by following us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or by joining us on our Discord chat where you can chat with us live or at any other time during the week. And you can find that quite easily by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on the No Excuses logo on any of our recent show posts. And on our Discord, you can also find links to our Twitch channels where we may be playing during the show or during the week.
Yep. So currently I'm playing some Starpoint Gemini Warlords, which is going to be interesting. I'm not sure how well this is going to go while I'm not really paying attention. I'm expecting several blown up spaceships.
Oh dear. I would be playing Gwent for y'all if I could find my dang controller.
No. We know what you're like with this. You'll play 3 hands and that'll be it.
I
Yeah.
am playing Fate Extella because I have finished with
Ham.
Boy Band Road Trip Spectacular, and quite frankly I've had more than enough of it.
We'll save the baseball bats for later. We're not going to be nice to that game later. Foreshadowing.
Oh, hello, cat. I am joined by my cat. Hello, cat.
That's a bit more than a teaser trailer for what's coming up later, but there you go.
Whatever. Subtlety is not our strong suit.
No, it's not.
Nah. Okay, so I guess we just jump straight into weeks, and my week has been kind of a bit of a non-event. I kept chipping away at the Hollow Knights because I got the bad end last week, so I was pushed through to get endings 2, 3, and well, kind of 4, I suppose. Ending supplementary, I guess you could call it.
Is there a 4th ending? I thought there was only 3. There might be a pseudo ending.
There's the Mr. Mushroom bit.
Oh,
You've
the
done that.
pseudo ending. Yeah.
Yeah, that bit. Which is very strange.
Yes, I don't remember much about it, but it was weird.
Yeah. Ah, cat! It's everywhere.
Meow.
Right, so... Yeah, meow. So yeah, Hollow Knight. That last final boss, I went through and found a lot of the optional bosses and had a crack at some of the Dreamworld bosses and finished the arena properly because I didn't actually know you could fight Zote. Zote the... forget what he's called. Zote the Idiotic. But,
You do know you have to do the arena 3 times, right?
I do. I've done it twice.
Okay, the last one has the final boss of the arena. It's the God Tamer and a big giant bug.
Yeah, well, it's Hollow Knight. It's odds are it's a big giant bug. But yeah. So I'm getting distracted by spaceships. So Zote, when you fight him in the arena, because I went back to do his fight, I felt kind of bad for doing it because he's terrible.
Yeah, you just kind of knock him around. He has one fan. That roly-poly pillbug is like his biggest fan, though. She loves him.
But she's your fangirl right up until you do that point.
Yep. But if you go back to town after that and talk to him, he'll tell you there's like 54 precepts to Zote's life, and he has a unique dialogue for every single one of them.
I sat and went through all of them. And
I did too.
He believes his own hype every step of the way. You can read his mind with the dream nail, and he's completely up himself.
I love Zote. He's so stupid.
Dreamworld Zote, however, is another kettle of fish.
Yeah.
What just happened? What did you do, cat?
I can still hear you, Fern, so keep talking.
Yeah. The cat just walked across the keyboard and pressed all sorts of buttons. I don't know what I'm doing.
So which guy is it this that you're talking about? Is this the guy that you rescue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because I played at least enough to meet him the first time.
You rescue him multiple times from his stupid adventures. This is an achievement for letting him die, which is actually really hard to do. You gotta discover him and cause at least 12 events to trigger and 2 hours to pass. It's real obnoxious to get it to trigger if you're just trying to get the kill zone achievement. As everything was so.
That's not very nice. Why would you do that?
Yeah. But yeah, Dreamworld though, you kind of hit this girl's love shrine to him.
Yeah. In a patch, they opened up the basement of the Roly Poly Bug's house, and there's just literally a statue of Zote down there.
Yeah.
And you whack it with the Dream Nail and go fight her dream version of Zote.
The Zote that she imagines that actually is.
Yeah,
what's funny is the funniest part of the whole boss fight they patched in for it is he's still incompetent in the boss fight. It's just his incompetence happens to cause incidental effects that are really dangerous. Like when he trips and falls on his face, it sends out a shockwave.
Yeah, he's still an incompetent boob, but he's a dangerous incompetent
boob just
now.
as planned incompetence.
Yeah.
He's also the hardest boss in the game.
Eventually, yeah. He starts off, hard-ish.
And first fight's pretty much, you can just whack your way through it and tank all the hits and not worry about healing. It's really easy. But then you go back again, and now he does 2 health points of damage every hit. You go back again, and he does 3, and you only have 10 health in this game, by the way.
Yes.
Once it got to the point where he could 2-shot me, that was too much. I couldn't do it anymore. But what you'll notice, Fern, if you keep going through it, is you know the titles that show up on his name?
Yes.
The glorious, ridiculous, whatever.
3.
It gets to the point where it fills 3 columns in the screen by the last fight. Of ridiculous names like the glorious, heroic, whatever Zote.
I think
it's hilarious.
Glorious. No, he's not. He's handsome knight, Grey Warden Zote or something in the Startland. But he's glorious, and it's incredibly stupid. What else? Other memorable boss fights. I still haven't managed to beat the Failed Knight, which is the second version of the Maggot Knight.
Yeah, that's your first step up in post game bosses because he does 2 hearts of damage a hit. He's just under Radiance tier.
And there is crap everywhere.
Yeah. And then there's post game boss Grim that you haven't fought yet, which is also 2 health points per attack, except his attacks are way more dangerous than anything the Radiance or the Failed Knight can do.
Yeah, I haven't started on the expansion, the Grim Troop stuff, because you got to beat the Radiance to do that.
Yes.
So yeah, went through, did ending 2, which is the same as ending 1, except Hornet is there, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, Hornet shows up, says hi.
No, she says get good.
Everybody hears something when she says her little crying bug language. Get down! Get good!
Yeah, for me it's get good, and which is fitting considering what happens next.
Yeah, it is a very appropriate war cry going into the final boss. That final boss is really tough the first time you fight it.
Yeah.
I wish it kept its effect on previous encounters, because it's a one-and-done boss. After you know its attack patterns, you're never going to have a problem with it again.
Yeah, I'm still in the learning phase for the Radiance. Now, the Radiance is such an incredible fight, because there's no other get in the game.
Yeah, so the rest of the game, because of its non-linear nature, has to assume that you don't have certain upgrades for most of the bosses. So it doesn't require their use, but they're additional help on most bosses. And most of the bosses get away still being well-designed anyway, but that's still a limitation. The Radiance can only be done after you've got everything. So it makes you use all the tools that you've gotten through the game, except maybe wall jump.
There's no walls, is why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big culmination of everything you've done. Its mechanics are not used by any other boss, partly because it doesn't. Well, it assumes you've already got everything by that point because you need everything to get to it. But it is just such a good fight, and it's not fought in the dark for a change, which is unique.
The enemy of that game is light itself.
Yes.
And I love the intro to that fight where you go inside the Hollow Knight's mine and you see the sun off in the distance, and you climb up on that pedestal and you raise your little baby nail up to challenge the sun, and then it turns into a boss. It's so cool.
Yeah. I think he does that nail, the wielding the nail pose one other point during the game, but I can't remember where.
Might be the Mantis Lords. They have a lot of unique.
It was the Mantis Lords, yes. Yes, it was the Mantis Lords.
Yeah, it's the challenge pose.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So very, very good. That said, I did do the Collector as well, and I had to do the Collector twice. Because I found a bug in this game.
Did you?
I did. So the Collector is an insane fight, completely down to the music, where it's a distorted version of the regular boss fight music, which is awesome all on its own. But when you beat it, it does this. It kind of falls down to one knee, and you have to wail on it a bit, or you can dream nail it to read its mind and get a little bit of backstory on it. But if you happen to hit it with the Dream Shield during that time, it bugs out.
That would be because that's a patched in that came in with Nightmare Troop badge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dream Shield is such a good badge.
Yeah, they patched in a lot of powerful shields and stuff, and like.
So close. I see what you did there.
Yeah, I caught it. So I saved it real good. Dang it.
You did. If I hadn't drawn to it, we probably wouldn't have noticed.
Oh dear. But yeah, a lot of those, I could see that happening because that boss was in the classic game, and that particular upgrade was patched in later as an additional content thing.
Yeah. What else? Got all the grubs and finished that bit. I still have a few badges to go. Like I've got to go do the lifeblood one, which it looks to be an enormous pain in the neck.
It's not that bad. You just go whack on a lifeblood fount, and then you equip all the lifeblood gem or badges that give you bonus health. And then
there's one that bumps it up to 12 health with lifeblood, and then there's another badge which sticks another one on top.
Yeah, you need 13 to get in there.
I think it said 15.
13.
Okay, that's a bit easier then.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I think you can actually just do it with badges.
Right, so that makes it a lot easier because I believe there's a bench just outside or not too far away. As long as you don't get hit on the way in.
It's not that hard to not get hit on the way in. It's in the abyss. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that badge. It's really easy.
Yeah. Yeah, there's of course the badge that turns old benches into hot springs and things like that as well, which is the last one you get.
That's not a badge. That's her blessing thing. You just get a passive forever, where whenever you sit on a bench, your soul will gradually fill up to full, including sub-soul tanks.
Ouch!
Your cat is making this difficult.
He's being incredibly insistent. What are you doing, cat? What do you want?
Cats being needy is sort of what they do. That's all that they do.
At least with dogs, you can tell usually what they want because they'll be bouncing towards whatever they're after. No, not this cat. Hollow Knight, extremely good game. Go play it.
No, really? I don't think we've talked about this before.
I know, right? What do you think?
I had to get you on the bandwagon, Fern.
It wasn't a hard sell, I have to admit.
It is a really good video game. But yeah.
It is, yeah.
There's only so much praise we can say about a game before we just start repeating ourselves for the third time.
Yes. Have you played Hollow Knight yet? Go play Hollow Knight. Do it. What else? So, I got my Steam link working. This cat has only one eye open. What have you done, cat? Steam link. So, I have to compare it to the PlayStation TV. So, the Steam Link itself cannot be played as a Vita or anything equivalent like that. It doesn't actually do any processing on board. But it does have a much more stable and efficient connection than the PS4 PlayStation TV. Yeah.
Well,
So
PlayStation TV is practically afterthought technology.
Yeah, it's we can make the Vita do this if we plug it into a TV. Let's do that, and then sell it. Which, by the way, there is one game coming up in January, which means I might actually use it as a Vita coming up, but we'll see there. But it is beautifully stable. It is. You don't lose a whole lot of frames through it that I've noticed anyway. Any frame rate loss I found is also lost on the PC in the same places. So, yeah, that's really nice.
The real question is input delay though, because I had to bounce between two nodes.
Haven't had anything too noticeable, but I haven't played it on a high stress game yet. Like if I try it with Hollow Knight, I will probably notice a big difference.
Yeah, play a character action game or Hollow Knight or something, it'll be noticeable.
Yeah, I really, yeah. So what's not so great is the Steam controller, which I got now. It's a very strange controller.
It's not comfortable, from what I've touched it, and I don't like that thing.
Yeah, you've got these two kind of touchpad things, and if you keep your thumbs on that, it's comfortable enough. But no game uses those. Well, not entirely, because the one on the left is your D-pad. The one on the right is a mouse trackpad, which is kind of touchy. No, you've got this one analog stick, and you've got your 4 action buttons with your A, B, X, Y. And they're... what the hell are you doing, cat? I'm going to put this cat out. So they're central. And that does not work for the action buttons.
No.
No.
We can fill time while you throw that cat out of your room, by the way.
No, he's gone. I put him out.
Oh, okay.
What, did you like pick it up by the scruff and then you can throw it?
No, I just opened the door and shoved him out with my foot. He's going to be cranky at me for that later.
Cats are always cranky at people.
Yeah. So, yeah, you've got... If you look at a DualShock 4, you both have one of those handy, and I imagine a lot of other people do, or a Xbox controller. The action buttons are where the right analog stick is.
Yeah. It's not in muscle memory for it to go there.
Honestly, I felt like they were just trying to be different for the sake of being different.
Yeah. But there's a reason the D-pad or the stick on the controller, Xbox controller, and the face buttons are there. It's where the natural resting position in your hands and your thumbs go when you're holding the controller.
Yeah.
You have to actively move it to the other stick.
Yeah. It doesn't really work so good for your action buttons because you tend to have a lot of movement with that thumb where your action buttons are concerned. The X button is just that little bit too far away.
You need like spider fingers to use that controller?
You need really long thumbs, I found. When I've actually tried to use it and I went to press a button that's bound to X, I ended up pressing Y because Y is in a much more comfortable position. So it works. It has 2 flappy paddles underneath, which I have no idea what it's another 2 buttons underneath where you can squeeze them.
Flappy pedals.
Yeah, the flappy paddles. Oh, right. And the biggest drawback is it still uses AA batteries. No onboard battery.
You what?
What?
Uh-huh.
Go buy a 360 wired pad, dude. Holy crap.
I think the Steam Link can actually put up with a 360 Bluetooth controller.
You'll want the wired one, I promise.
Oh, yeah, almost certainly. But, yeah. This uses AA batteries. Why?
How long do you get with AA? Like maybe 7 hours if you're lucky, and then you got to go buy more.
Yeah. Or if you've got charged ones, you get maybe 5 hours out of it, and then 5 hours of downtime.
And then you get 4 hours the next time, and then 3, and then 2, and it's stuck at 1 perpetually after that.
And then you have to buy an even more expensive battery. Yes.
Gross. I didn't know that about it.
Yeah.
Double A's are like the scourge of every child on Earth.
Yes.
I mean, they're like that necessary battery you keep in your desk drawer at work because something is going to require it one day, and you're not going to be happy when it does. Yeah, those are AAA here, annoyingly enough. Even worse than AA.
They're even worse.
Yes, I keep one small thing of AAAs and one small thing of AAs at my desk at all times.
Yeah. So, it's strange. I'm going to have to play with this thing some more, I think. But I don't need to use it for my PC because I've got a DualShock 4 linked up to it already, and I just use that. And, yeah, I still haven't been able to get anywhere near my the main entertainment unit because The Witcher 3 continues to happen there.
You mean the side quest to Gwent?
Yes, that one. So, yeah. What else? What else I've found? Just been informed actually that my work schedule is going to drastically change again. So yay, we got someone new who's working for us. So shuffle everything around. But what that means?
Did you just say rastically?
No, I hope not.
It sounded like you said rastically, combining radically and drastically.
Ruh-roh. So the good news is, however, I get Australia Day off, and Australia Day is actually a misnomer. It should be Monster Hunter World Day.
Australia. No, if you live in Melbourne, people don't get it off though.
Or
anywhere in Victoria.
That is an entirely different
Because
rage
Australia Day is racist.
It's racist. Why?
For Ari's sake and any American listeners, Australia Day is subject to the same sort of discussion as Columbus Day.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
good
you've got these bleeding hearts who are calling it Invasion Day and completely missing the point of the day. Even though it's got nothing to do with the First Fleet, if I recall, it's the Day of Federation.
We're idiots, and we don't like people having fun. We don't know anything about history, but you're not allowed to have fun.
They still take the day off.
Yeah, they still take the day
That's
off.
the thing.
They do it ironically.
Like, you could at least respect that they were actually standing behind their protest if they didn't take the day off.
Well, that's what a lot of the people who were interviewing and criticizing them were saying is, okay, if you're not going to acknowledge a day, are you still going to take the day off? And they all kind of went, yes. It's a holiday. This is a rage-inducing argument in a lot of Australians because we're kind of getting to the point where we're sick to death of these political correct nonsense.
You and every other country, these stupid little shield heads are everywhere. I think I'm going to use that as my new replacement word.
That's an interesting word. Why did you come up with that one?
Because I saved it with that word earlier in the show.
Fair enough. We're going to call them shield heads. All right. So yeah,
white knighting people anyway.
True. So yeah, these people. Ironically enough, though, the various councils around or the county, whatever you want to call them, for your local equivalent anyway, they've started to ban or cancel their Australia Day celebrations because it's not uncommon to have a march or a public barbecue or a market or things like that on Australia Day. So in response, the federal government has taken away their ability to do the one thing that that is the big deal of Australia Day, which is citizenship ceremonies.
Don't have a clue what those are, dog.
Where citizenship is officially conferred on immigrants.
Yes. So you become an Australian citizen on Australia Day.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. Very big deal.
We don't have those.
You don't?
No, we don't have anything like that. You just go to the office, they give you a piece of paper, and you're done.
You're American now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, Americans are sort of definitionally subject to a document when they become Americans, as opposed to becoming a subject of the crown.
Yeah.
So we've got to make a bigger deal of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We threw your tea in the ocean, you crazy, crazy British people. You and your crowns. We don't need your kings. We elect presidents. And almost elect bad ones.
Yes. At least we've got a safety net where we can fire our Prime Minister, sort of.
I read a thing the other day saying that US President Andrew Jackson swore so much that they had to remove the parrot from his funeral.
That is a popular urban legend that is 100% unverifiable. I don't know any first-hand accounts that confirm it.
But it's hilarious.
That is hilarious. Oh, no.
So we're a gaming show, right?
We're a gaming show, and I was about to talk about a Prime Minister that jumped into the ocean one day and never came back. So, we've had that. So anyway, yeah, nonsense. Australia Day is not Australia Day, it's Monster Hunter World Day. I'm going to have it all off, and I will probably spend the entirety of it playing Monster Hunter World.
That's Tuesday, right?
That's a Friday.
Friday.
What's the date of that day?
The 26th of April. January. Why am I saying April for?
I didn't look at my schedule. My schedule for the coming weeks is really wonky. Like, really wonky.
Yeah.
It's a split.
I could be convinced, Fern, to pick up Monster Hunter World if you sell it to me well enough in the time leading up to release.
But it's Monster Hunter. If you don't already know what that means, I mean...
It's Monster Hunter, except... Well, think of Dark Souls, except think of it being actually good.
You mean Dark Souls 3?
No, I mean any Dark Souls, except actually good.
It has a bat that looks like a pom-pom.
Yes, it does.
I do like the monster designs in it, but I got stuck at the early game with the Wii U one, and it was on the Wii U, so I didn't have a real good first impression of the game.
The Wii U one was remake of Try, I think.
It was a remake of It was a remake of one on a bad console, and I just didn't have a good time with it. I played one of the PSP ones for a little bit, but not for very long. Not for any particular reason that I quit. I just didn't do it. But you and Sleep has asked me if I'm getting it, and a few other people have asked me if I'm getting it. I'm like, I don't know yet. I'm just not. I didn't get grabbed by the series. But it looks like I'm going to have to at this point because everybody's talking about it.
Yes. If you're looking at getting into Monster Hunter at any point, Monster Hunter World is the game to do it with.
Yeah, and that's what I'm planning on.
It is a lot more beginner-friendly than any previous entry. I ended up starting with Monster Hunter Try and working my way up from there, and Try was a bit oblique about things.
I had you with me on the Wii U one, and I still didn't understand what was going on. It's like all these billions of consumables you need to know is like, what are you doing?
It's not that bad. It's the stats that really made a mess of things. Yeah, like there's like 50 stats, and they all cover a very specific area.
So yeah, it's one day after Dragon Ball Z Day too. That's the 25th.
My social media is already full of people playing it.
Yeah,
they imported the Japanese copy.
Right.
So I'm going to be playing a load of Monster Hunter. I played the beta. I love the beta. Everything feels a lot more fluid. They've improved a lot of quality of life. Everything's really. And I'm just gotten into a really bad situation here. I am going to explode a spaceship because I wasn't paying attention.
Apologies to the -1 viewers on my stream, but it appears I can't find anybody in ranked playing Gwent.
How you got -1?
I don't know. It said there was one, and then it disappeared.
Oh. So, yeah. Basically, if those who have never played Monster Hunter World, or a game before, it is hunt giant monsters and then make a hat out of them.
Which makes you look like Jar Jar Binks.
Only the Gargwa hat, and that's a running joke. That you'd never wear the Gargwa armor. There is no reason to wear the Gargwa armor.
Why? What bonuses does it give?
I think it's something ridiculous, like small armor bonus and a water blight resist, I think. I might have to look this up now.
Well, what if you really don't want water blight?
Water blight doesn't do a whole lot, honestly. I've never had trouble when I've been afflicted with it. I'm going to have to look this up, actually. We'll find out what the Gargwa armor actually does. So, yeah. It is... I've got to say, though, it's probably the first time in years now that I've actually been genuinely hyped for a game. The last game I got hyped for was, of all things, SimCity 2011 or whatever it was, where they blatantly lied in the beta.
Yeah. That was a fun train wreck to follow. That was hilarious.
Oh yeah, and EA has learned absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah. We don't have any Loot Crate news for once. Don't worry. We're not going to beat that horse this week.
No.
I would like very much for there to never be Loot Crate news ever again.
I would too. But it's going to happen.
Instead, we'll have keg news.
My kegs! Oh, my kegs! My kegs are all shiny this week because it's a bonus premium weekend, so I get extra scrap when I mill cards.
You seemed extraordinarily happy about that.
Yes, because I could finish 2 decks for the price it would take me to get like an 1/8 of one in Hearthstone.
Yeah. I'm still looking for the Gargoyle armor. I can't remember what it's actually called. Anyway, I'll keep looking at this. So that's pretty much been my week. Still chipping away at the Hollow Knight. I'm at the last hurdle before I pass the base game and move into DLC, the expansion territory. So it's good. The Steam Link is surprisingly good. The Steam controller is unsurprisingly bad.
Yeah, there's a reason why nobody uses them.
Yes.
You didn't pay for it yourself, did you?
Oh, no, it was a gift.
Good. My goodness.
Alright, so Vol, your week, sir.
My week doesn't contain a huge amount. I am currently in a state of about to become homeless. Because my lease is ending and I can't seem to secure a place. Because I keep getting turned down by people for reasons like, you're not a student, which I don't understand why a student is preferable. but
Did
apparently
Be flaky on your mortgage.
I think
you are the
this is-
more evolved form of a student.
I think that this is sort of like a product of the student loan system, really, in that like students are guaranteed to have a certain amount of income. Like you can't, if you're a student, you can't lose your job, really, unless you perform very, very badly. But that will usually happen at the end of the year when the lease won't be harmed by it for much longer. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. At any rate, it's still a work in progress, and as a result of that, I've more or less been unable to focus on anything else. I'm a very anxious person about things like this particularly, and so I've been sleeping poorly and haven't been able to focus on anything. So I've got some places that haven't turned me down yet, but are refusing to make a decision because obviously, and I've got another place I'm going to look at this afternoon, and there are a couple of others that are possibilities as well. But yeah, I hope that resolves itself quickly so I can move on to other things. There's a new anime season that has started, and that's the main reason I haven't done anything about reviewing the stuff in it, is because I'm too distracted. But
Yeah.
it's also a very, very large season full of very questionable material, but we've seen that sort of thing
Yes.
rally before, and we've also seen it spiral down the plug hole before, so
Yeah, like looking through it, there's some interesting stuff there. There's a lot of sequels and follow-ups and things like that, and there is pure sugar. I'm going to catch diabetes if I watch this magical girl shows as well.
yes. Well, at any rate, so I haven't done anything about that, but I still intend to do so if I can, get everything to line up for me so that I can, stop angsting about homelessness.
Yes.
So, the main amount of gaming that I put in this week was finishing off Final Fantasy 15. I just, I played through, I did the main story. I didn't play any of the DLC or anything like that. And frankly, I was thoroughly unmotivated to ever pick up the game again by the time I finished. It's that sort of story.
It is really bad.
Like, where do I start? I don't really want to spoil it for Fern, since he seems to be, masochistic enough to want to go through it.
Yeah.
But basically,
Yeah.
the entire thing smells like they didn't have a plan. Like what came out at the end was not, it was not outlined beforehand to look like what it eventually looked like. There is no way, because virtually every single plot thread you are introduced to is later dropped without mention. That's the running thread throughout the entire thing. So, first of all, you've got this situation, right, where the marriage between the prince and the oracle is going to basically seal a peace treaty. That's your starting situation, and of course that ends up being a wash. So your mission, first of all, you're sent to get her, and then since that all falls apart, you are sent to basically get your birthright ring back. Fundamentally, you meet up with the oracle. That's what you're supposed to be doing.
But in between that, you got to watch Kingsblade. You're sent to watch Kingsblade.
Well, let's
before you
leave
have
that
to-
aside, because we've already talked about what a disaster that is from a story organization perspective. That's nothing new. We've already discussed that. But when you look at the way they then proceed with what is going on, it really doesn't make much sense, because your primary mission is supposedly to get a hold of this ring and be kingly with it, I guess. Because at this point in time, you have no idea why it's so important. In fact, as far as I am aware, other than having the vague idea that it's the source of the king's power, most people don't really seem to know what the deal is with the ring, other than, the king's supposed to have it. But along the way, first, you get tasked to claim your ancestors' weapons and add them to a weapon collection with which you fight. No explanation is given for why this is important, other than making you personally more powerful, which is not traditionally a kingly thing. Like, it's not going to teach you any of the skills you need to be a king. It will just make you have lots of weapons. So it's not really explained why this is really, really important. And considering that you can finish the game with like 6 out of 13 or something like that, it's clearly not important. And herein lies the first major dropped plot thread, in that there is no connection between these weapons and anything else in the story, other than it's a thing that kings have.
Yeah,
and it's
Noctis
not
even lampshades it.
It's not even.
Like,
Go on.
I say Noctis even lampshades it, where his friends ask him, "How do you feel after you got that new weapon from him?" And he goes, "Feel like I got more tricks up my sleeve," in a very nonchalant way.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I can't tell if that's because they are lampshading it or because they're trying to make him appear cool about it. But yeah, so this process carries on throughout the game, and several of the weapons are buried in post-game dungeons, which are vastly too hard for you to do on your first playthrough, unless you grind a huge amount to get to the level where you can take them on. Although even there you would be going in under-equipped, I guess, because you don't have the ring and so forth to help you out. But yeah, so this situation peters out completely. Like, it doesn't matter how many or how few of these things you collect, the story will proceed regardless. The story does not care. It does not even mention it. Extending on from that, further. This is a spoiler, but it also becomes clear that being a legitimate king has no relationship to whether or not you can wield these weapons. So even that plot thread becomes undone. The next one is collecting the blessings of the gods. So there are 6 gods, which are summons from other Final Fantasies. So you've got your Titan, and you've got your Rama, and you've got your Leviathan, and Shiva, and Ifrit, and Bahamut, and they're gods, effectively. So they've all been sort of like humanized a little bit, so that they look a bit less like animals. If they
How much
like
budget went into Shiva and her breast physics? Like, what were they thinking? It's so noticeable when we're talking about designs.
I think she looked better as Gentiana.
Yeah, I did too. It's too realistic.
It's very uncanny. Very uncanny.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It's bad.
But anyway, so you're tasked to collect the blessings of the gods. However, it is done in a very, very bizarre and oblique manner, in which you get sort of like, it's vaguely implied that you should. And then you get sort of semi-helped out to go and do this sort of thing, and then you have a big squabble with Titan, and then something happens. And it's really not clear what it is exactly that did happen. Later on they talk about Titan being dead, but his corpse isn't around or anything, so... And
he shows up later in the story.
Yeah. So... I don't know what the deal is with gods. It's like they can simultaneously be dead and not dead. They can simultaneously have a corpse and a living body. Like, I don't know. There's an awful lot about it that makes absolutely no sense. And so this somehow matures into... And I'm not sure at what point you genuinely get this information. Like, Gentiana shows up and mentions something sort of like... She only ever talks in weird hints and stuff, since she's sort of like a messenger of the gods. But she... vaguely alludes to the fact that, the Oracle's going ahead of you and is basically brokering these deals for you with each of the deities in order for you to receive their blessing and power from them. Although nobody ever seems to comment on the fact that you can command the power of the gods or anything like that, so I'm not really sure what the deal is there. When the gods
feel like it.
Yeah, when they feel like it, because as we've mentioned in the past, they just get summoned at random when you're fighting.
Right.
There are certain storyline occasions where they are guaranteed to, but generally speaking, you can't count on any of it.
Right.
But you end up going from basically for a while. You go from god to god, appealing to their blessing. So the first one, Titan, you've got no idea that that's your mission. Afterwards, you still have no idea that's your mission, but you end up going ahead and doing it anyway. And then you move on to Rama because you get told to, and that manifests as you have to touch 3 trees or something like that. And that's it. And then you have the power,
trees.
You have the power of Rama.
And his beard.
Yeah, and his beard. and that's it. That's all. Okay, so that was a huge anticlimax, and then Leviathan is the major story turning point, and at that point they entirely drop the pretense that your job is to go and collect gods from the get-go. Like, it's no longer ever mentioned again. You continue to do it, but nobody ever talks about it.
And the Leviathan one's especially bad because it sends mixed signals with how you're supposed to get the gods' attention. Like, they're like, okay, well, the Oracle's got to help you get their attention. You got to try and do this peacefully before the Nilfgaardians blow up the gods and you can't get their power. Or whatever they're called. I call them Nilfgaardians because they got, open. I've already...
Wrong universe.
Yeah, wrong universe, but I forget the bad guys' names. They're so unmemorable. And
Them bad guys.
But for a good chunk of these dudes, you don't need the Oracle's help. You just need to punch it in the face really hard, and they seem to give you the thumbs up.
Which is a really weird way of doing business, honestly. But it doesn't seem like anything like they go out of their way to, like, for instance, Leviathan's got an unbelievably surly personality, insofar as you can tell, but there is no interaction between you and Leviathan, between Noctis and Leviathan, that actually resolves a storyline, that actually resolves a character interaction. There is no interaction. Nothing takes place.
Just a whole lot of punching.
Yeah, and then, ta-da!
Super Saiyan punching.
That's all. That's all there is to it. There is nothing else. So yeah, and then they just drop it. They just drop it like that. It's like, oh, it's not important to do this anymore. You've got bigger things to do because the storyline has moved. And so at this point in Chapter 9, the story basically spirals downward into grim darkness. Like, where I was up to before, at like Chapter 6 or something, I felt like I just started the game. That's actually like what I think of as the Disc 3 state. Because, I started with Final Fantasy 8, and Disc 3 contains the entire world. All of the stuff that you can do is on Disc 3.
Yeah.
So I was already at the Disc 3 state, pretty much. And Chapter 9 is the point of no return, basically. Like, everything spirals on downward from there. Radically so.
All linear after Chapter 9. Just the big open world and all the stuff they advertise that people talk about in this game, Chapter 9 onwards, you're back to hallways, but I don't see anybody complaining about these hallways for some reason.
Despite how incredibly boring they are. But the thing is, all of the mood and the characters take a huge shift here. And next to no explanation is actually given for any of it.
Yeah.
They seem to have just decided that, oh, well, I mean, I guess we're going to have the party basically be in a snit with each other because reasons.
Events. Reasons that you need to go play the DLC to figure out, I might add.
Like that.
They cut it out of the main story to make a DLC out of it.
Is that
all
what was
these big
happening?
story beats?
Like, cause the thing is, like,
so,
what happens? What I saw happen was that I got to the lighthouse, for instance, as an example, and Gladio's like, I got to go somewhere and do some things, and Gladio goes off and does some things, and everybody seems cool with it, but when he gets back, everybody's butt hurt that he went off and did some things, and I'm not really sure about what's going on there.
I don't know. I didn't play the DLC, but apparently a lot of these... You'll notice each main character buggers off for a while on their own or has one major event happen to them for one of them that happens off-screen.
Yeah, you got to get those episodes.
That's all DLC content. To be fair, I've heard that the DLC content is relatively well constructed, in the sense that they actually completely separate genres. Like, for instance, Promptos is a third-person shooter.
Yeah, the games play radically differently in the DLCs. You're not playing Final Fantasy 14 anymore. Or 15, whatever we're on.
Yeah, well, at any rate, so these sorts of character shifts start to become more and more jarring, and the worst one is one which happens where pretty much most things are on screen. Like, I'm trying to avoid any major spoilers, but what happens on screen is supposed to create a conflict within the party, but the problem with that is that the conflict seems completely disproportionate. Like, as far as I was concerned, Gladio was just being a douche because he could.
Yeah. Gladio, especially on the train, he comes off as just a douche canoe.
Yeah, it's like, I can't spoil it, so I can't say anything about why it's just douchey behaviour, really.
this spoiler-free way, I think, to go about this to make this easier to talk about is to say a party member has a rather significant event happen to them, and while they're around you, they become a liability.
Yeah. Well, it's not even just that. It's that everybody's emotional state has been completely turned on its head at the time that this is occurring. So everybody is in a stressful situation. And Gladio basically presents himself as the voice of reason and uses that to be a complete douche nozzle. And there's no lead up to it. And honestly, there's no resolution either. Like, they present it as if it's resolved at the end of the most agonizingly slow dungeon in human history. But...
Oh, that is the worst. That's the worst part of the game. Period. We might want to elaborate on how bad that is.
So,
okay.
Due to circumstances, you are basically loaded down with a party member who can only move at a walk. And you have this enormous, elaborate, weaving swamp area that you've got to navigate.
It's full of mobiles, isn't it?
The final boss is a giant Marlboro.
Right.
Then to beat it, you have to run away from it. And then fight it again.
I didn't because I had no health. But no, like I was able to chunk its health every time it healed. Like one hit would put it back down on nothing again, so I didn't have to worry about that. But to add to that, I did that entire dungeon in pitch black darkness. Because it was nighttime for me on the day-night cycle throughout that entire dungeon.
That must have been a nightmare. But yeah, it's a big open swampy area too. Yeah, with like crocodiles and stuff. It's really
It's a big
bad.
open swampy area that you can't move freely in though, because not only are you slowed down by a slow-moving character, but there are specific paths you can and can't walk on.
Yeah, and the whole time, even if you're 10 feet away from the walking character, Gladio's going to chew you out for it.
Yeah, he constantly gets on your nerves by talking about how selfish you are for not waiting. If you move like an inch away.
Yeah, Gladio is just a total douche canoe from the point of Chapter 9 until his train big douche canoe scene. And then it's magically fine. He's not douche canoe anymore. For some reason.
Yeah, and that doesn't really make any success either, any sense either. Like, you don't know why things suddenly got better. Like, the scene which is referred to by the story as where they resolved their differences wouldn't resolve anything in real life because they don't really have it out.
Yeah. All they did was get a little cold.
Yeah. At any rate, so you've got all these character shifts happening in the meantime, and then you end up getting railroaded onto this situation where the party gets split. You never split the party. And as a result, this particular part of the game takes an extremely long time. Not because it's hard, but because it's disproportionately long. And it almost seems like they were just trying to make the game longer.
Yeah.
Because
the game's already short.
All of the chapters between there and chapter 9 are like a few minutes long, and then this one, you're just walking through corridors for ages.
It's like, no joke, 4 hours of walking through hallways that are all like poop brown or steel gray that's rusted. It's ugly. And the gameplay mechanic, if you play, because you can choose which party members you follow in this group because you split the party. If you play as Noctis, I played only as Noctis in this one.
I didn't Noctis, so I couldn't be bothered with Gladio.
You have to deal with this new gameplay mechanic that makes the combat trivial, but is also incredibly obnoxious. For the situation you're presented with, at least. It might work better once you take it into the open world, but it's annoying.
Yeah, you get a weapon of mass destruction, but it's quite difficult to use efficiently. And if you use it wrong, things go badly. Although I was already quite used to the way the combat worked, so I went through there basically hitting everything for 9999 without taking any damage. So for me, it was even more boring. But yeah, that sequence just really drags on.
And the final boss of that area, so much health.
I didn't have that much trouble with it. I had to kill it twice because I got. No, I didn't. Actually, no, I didn't have to kill it twice. I got loaded immediately after that because I got caught by some stun lock bullcrap later. But at any rate, that boss probably, I would say, probably does have too much health. because it still took me a relative while to kill it, and judging by how badly I was rocking everything else in that zone, he probably did have a lot of health.
He did, and my characters did not have the HP to take any of his hits, so I spent the majority of the fight just healing people and sitting through the potion animation because he had so much health. If you're an idiot like me and put all your points in exploration at this point, and you're being railroaded into this boss fight, and you're technically underleveled, it's a no joke 50-minute boss fight.
It's not that interesting either. His abilities aren't cool or anything. They're just, pretty stock standard.
Just a humanoid with charge.
Yeah.
And an AoE blast.
He's got a big sword. That's basically it. It's basically a Sephiroth fight sort of thing. Yeah, it was deeply underwhelming. And then you've basically got this sort of situation where, okay, so we've abandoned the part of the story where we're looking for the Oracle, because that's no longer a problem. We've abandoned the part of the story where we're looking for the weapons, because, we're in an enemy military facility and there's no weapons in here to look for, really.
Asterisk.
And you've abandoned the looking for the gods thing because, well, again, you're in a different country and you've met most of the gods that you expect to, and don't really have a lead on the other ones because it was basically the Oracle's assistant who was giving you those leads, and the Oracle isn't an issue anymore, so we don't have any Oracle helping us out. Yeah, it's basically, at this point, you don't have any reason other than to push forward and try and recollect the party. And then at the end, as if they didn't know where they were actually going with the story at this point, they just, pull a not really a twist, pull an overly used plot element out of their backside and completely cut the story off there and resume it later.
Why?
Without you seeing anything that happens in between.
Yeah, and it's quite a bit of
Unless
time.
you buy the DLC.
Unless you buy the DLC.
Comrades
It's quite
DLC
a bit of
takes place
time.
in there.
Yeah, there's a huge chunk where they time skip so that you can play DLC to figure out what happened.
Right. So, at the end, you resume the story and you go and you kill the final boss, and that's it.
Yay!
And the final boss is not interesting. The final boss is best solved by you spamming circle over and over again.
Like combat the rest of the game?
You just hold down circle button, occasionally use potion. That is how you beat him.
Yeah. There's really nothing more to it than that. And it's not interesting or cathartic or anything, because your main reason for killing this guy is that he's a destructive douche. Like,
yeah,
you might as well have been stopping an earthquake or a tornado, because he's just a destructive douche. There's not really a huge amount of investment. Like, they could have written it that way, because there's a pretty strong revenge thread that they could have worked instead, but they didn't. They didn't touch that at all. So yeah, it was basically an anticlimax. And okay, so we're at the end of the story now. The first part of the credits rolls, and then they resume to just before the final boss. And they do a story moment with all of the boys from the boy band having a meal around the campfire sort of thing. And then they do their emotional, final, we're going to go to the final fight moment. And it's written reasonably well. It's relatively impactful, given the amount of time you've been forced to spend with these douches. But the fact is that it doesn't matter anymore, because you've already killed the final boss. Like, if they had just not decided to be creative and stuck that in instead of, the meaningless derping around, if they had just jammed that in before the final boss so that it had some weight to it, some gravitas, like it had the sensation of being a terminal moment, rather than just being I guess we've got to go kill the bad guy now. Like, then it might have worked a bit better. So yeah, that was another problem with it. Now, the thing is, the story gets completely undone by the DLC, because if you play the DLC, then you get access to the alternate ending, which you don't have access to if you if you just play the regular game, and arguably it's the good ending. The only ending that you can get in the base game is the normal ending. So,
which is everything is terrible forever for our main character.
well, it's not necessarily terrible forever, but I mean, there's no real way of adding any particular of ascribing any particular value to what happens afterwards. But the DLC changes the plot. But the problem is it doesn't divert the plot along an alternate route that is also possible. Because in the entirety of the story, as far as we see, everything goes exactly the way fate ordains, at every turn. If something was prophesied, it happens exactly as it was prophesied. And it does this throughout the entire game. In the end, I'm going to spoil the DLC a bit, but basically in the end of the DLC, one of the characters has a vision of the future. He has a vision of the normal ending. And uses that as motivation to basically upend the story and make it end differently. But there's no explanation for really why he is able to have this vision and suddenly he is the one person in the world who can derail fate. So
right,
they can resolve the story and they can prove all of the prophecies wrong about how, the king is the chosen one and the chosen one has to put an end to the blah-de-blah-de-blah. That just disappears out the window. Not important anymore. Because DLC.
Because DLC.
But yeah, so what you've basically got is you've got a series of dropped plot threads. You've got, the prince is going to marry the oracle. No, the prince doesn't get round to marrying the oracle. That plot thread gets dropped. You've got the prince has got to collect his ancestor's weapon. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. You'll get a handful through story events throughout the story, and nobody really mentions them at any point. It doesn't matter how many you have, because it really doesn't affect your combat ability. Then they've got the collecting the blessings of the gods. Well, sure, you get them, technically speaking, but you can't use them at will in any way, and you stop looking for them at the halfway point. And then you've got you've got everything just boils down to we'll hunt down the bad guy, and then suddenly the story just ends for 10 years, and you come back later.
Right.
Like, it's just the entire thing is a series of like plot threads that were supposed to be about twice as long as they actually were, so none of them are ever resolved.
It sounds like they've just gone through the game and says, okay, we're going to put this bit out and we'll sell that separately, and we'll take this bit out and sell it separately.
Well, it's even worse than that. It's more like this game had ideas. It probably is more like this. That while they were making the game, it was originally Versus 13, they had these story threads written out and they were interconnected. But when 13 got its bad press, they started freaking out and were doing hectic story rewrites, and these story threads still got left in what would have been the original game as whatever iteration or appearance they had in the Cocoon world. And when they had to repurpose it into this unique world with boy band road trips driving around the country to make a concept album or something, these story threads just didn't translate well into this new world. They came off as half-baked, and they never got resolved well.
Yeah, I think there's also a time thing, because the game was in development hell for so long. I think that they wrote part of the story and they figured, just ship it. We don't have time to delay this any further. Like, I think that Ari is mostly right. Like, these plots were originally supposed to be stitched onto other plots, and it just never really happened.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and you're not going to get any resolution for anything. And these include minor bits of those same subplots within those subplots. Like, a general dude comes to help you get the weapons, and he just buggers off when you're done with him, but he's made out to be this huge big deal. The Oracle's supposed to help you get the blessings of the gods, but halfway through, she ain't doing that no more.
Yeah, they forget what they're doing and just move on to something else, and this happens repeatedly.
Yeah.
I don't understand how it got this far.
Can we just have Prompto's, or not Prompto, can we just have Gladio's little sister in the party all the time, though? She could heal.
Yeah, that's the thing. None of the characters ever really get interesting at all. They just...
Nah.
They're all very mediocre, and most of them are unlikable for one reason or another. Like,
they're all various degree of douchebag.
Chiggenhead's unlikable because, he's Chiggenhead. He acts like a twerp all the time. The Ignis is unlikable because you have to put up with him saying,
That's it!
That's it.
Which-
I've thought of a new recipe.
apparently it is actually parody in the game by one point. At one point in one of the things that you can do. I don't remember where exactly it is, but apparently there's don't know where it was. Maybe it's in like the mobile release or something like that. But there's a way to get Noctis to imitate that. And he actually says recipe.
Recipe.
But at any rate,
It is incredibly annoying.
and Gladio is like Gladio would be a nothing were it not for this basically this entire part of the game which seems to be dedicated to having him hack you off as much as possible.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it's just a meathead douchebag.
Yeah, there are one point early in the game when you're looking for the gods, he turns into a douche canoe for like 5 minutes, and then he gets over, and you're like, okay, he just had a moment. And there's a whole chapter where he's a douche canoe the entire time.
Yeah, but I didn't really buy his excuse during the part where he temporarily becomes a douche canoe, but I thought, okay, well, at least that's plausible. But yeah, it stopped being plausible pretty quickly. But at any rate, yeah, the game is basically a mess. And the characters that I liked were all characters who don't really appear very much. Like, I liked Eris. Like,
I did too.
She's a cute addition to the party who has much more life and personality to her than anyone else that you see.
Well, not HP life.
But she almost never gets hit by anything. She stays out of the way and lets the fighting get done by people who can fight. Which I would rather the rest of my party do if at all possible.
No, they're too busy running around, getting each other's way and cracking terrible one-liners.
Their job is to die repeatedly as you shove potions down their throat to tank the bosses.
Yes.
Yeah, but I liked Aranea as well, who's another temporary party member. Like she actually has, you know, her own views on life and the way things should be done, which is something no other characters bother to have. So yeah,
she was interesting.
She's apparently like the Dark Horse favorite of most people in the.
I get the feeling she was supposed to be. Yeah, I get the feeling she was supposed to be a lightning cameo in the game in its original iteration, and she got warped into a new character.
It does have that sort of vibe to it. I think that's a relatively plausible suggestion. But yeah, so the long and short of it is that the game is bad. It's
like
the worst Final Fantasy I've ever played.
Agreed. It is a horrible, terrible game that I had to force my way through.
Like I was very lukewarm on 13.2. Like there were a lot of things I didn't like about it, but this blows 13.2 out of the water because there were lots of like super cool moments where you got to do something big and apparently meaningful in 10.2, and there were lots of cool concepts like an artificially created Fal'Cie, for instance, and that thing running amok, so they got to have their own sort of version of Skynet. Like there are lots of cool ideas. There is nothing cool in Final Fantasy 15. There's just a lot of gorgeous, lavish graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I told Vol that the only way I can think of to make this story work is to play pretend that this is actually a boy band and they're driving around the world shooting videos for their concept album.
That's why they pull out a camera every 5 minutes. So yeah.
Yeah, if you look closely, Prompto's face is actually a camera.
No, he's just like, let's go take a picture, guys. We're on the way to picture. It counts as a side quest. Okay, I guess we'll do it.
Dude, we're in the middle of combat. Stop taking photos.
For real.
You can actually get a skill that allows you to manually make him have him take photos during combat.
Why?
Why not?
And what's her name? The Oracle lady's assistant, the God's messenger. Yeah, Gentiana. She will randomly show up in his photos.
She photobombs because she's a messenger of the gods. She doesn't exist purely on the physical plane. So she can appear and disappear wherever she wants and does so various times throughout the game. But sometimes she just randomly photobombs the photos that Prompto takes.
That's kind of cool.
If you save one of those photos, you get a Chivo called like Gentiana photobombing or something.
Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah, I got that one too.
That one's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, but it's just such a painful game. You know, what what really grinds my gears about this particular issue of Final Fantasy, like, it could have just been a bad Final Fantasy, right? But no. The reception for it has been so positive. And I look back at the reception 13 got, and I'm like, what? How did y'all hate this one and love this one? What is wrong with you people? Are you all still smoking Breath of the Wild? Like,
yes.
Why are you guys so hell-bent on liking the boy band full of Spice Girls?
I don't understand it either. Like, when I found out that there was actually a fandom, I was very confused about it. But
fandom in giant air quotes.
It's Tumblr bait, effectively. So of course it's a fandom.
It's also worth noticing that the storyline. One of the reasons that I feel the storyline feels so thoroughly abbreviated is because there are something like, based on my estimate, there are about 3 or 4 times as many dungeons in the post-game as in the game itself.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's only 1, 2, 4 mandatory ones, I think.
But virtually every dungeon has a sub-dungeon that is a harder version of itself, and there were like there are like 4 sort of super dungeons for post-game stuff, which like each of those is multiple times bigger than a standard storyline dungeon.
Yeah, and the dungeons you go through in the storyline are not very interesting. Like, the
almost all
aforementioned
just
swamp,
caves.
I guess we count. Yeah, it's all caves or like abandoned mines or the aforementioned poop brown swamp, like, that you have to like crawl your way through. Like, they're not cool looking. There's one cave that's like an icy cave, but it's ice mechanics, so of course it's not very good.
Of course.
There's always
And there's mind flares in it.
Is there a fire level though?
I think Titans walk up kind of is what they counted as their fire level.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Especially then they like I didn't understand like the Ifrit is a boss that you have to fight very late in the game, but
he's foreshadowed heavily. He's built up a big deal.
He's built up a big deal, but he's built up a big deal as well. There's this mysterious fiery figure who is, you know, he's basically built up like as though he's the final boss.
Yeah,
During the early part of the game, like they foreshadow it. They don't foreshadow it. They foreshadow it the way Octale and Hordak foreshadow things, but
we do.
But
yes.
It's not just that they foreshadow it. It's that they foreshadow it in a way that completely misleads you because he doesn't matter at all. He doesn't matter at all.
Like, they go as far as to show you the part of the Ignis fight at the start of the game as a flash forward. Like,
that's
they show. Yeah, like, and I thought a certain Douche Canoe character was Ignis, or what's his name, Imprint. I thought that one of the Douche Canoe characters was that character in the whole game, and then it turns out the Douche Canoe character is a different guy that's the final boss.
Yeah, it's like you've got it
This
exactly
is being nice.
inverted.
Yeah, this is being nice and vague because saying it's a Douche Canoe character in this game
You can talk about pretty much
cool.
anyone in the cast.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we could sum up and say, if you want to play a good Final Fantasy 14 game, yes, go play Final Fantasy 14. There you go. And it's an MMO.
Or go play 6 or 7 or any of the ones people like. Like, this is just terrible.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12.
I don't think I've ever felt just this sort of bone deep level of disappointment. Like, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed, sort of thing. Like, why did it have to be this way? Is my overall feeling. Like, because I can't imagine going back and playing this again because it was just work.
Yeah. Usually in these type of games where there's a lot of stuff to explore and do, I'll go through every nook and cranny of everything and make sure I pick up all the items, even if they're useless, and have fun exploring the world. I've never given up on a game as fast as I did with this one. I just started plowing through the main story because I just did not care anymore.
Yeah, that's basically the reason that I started plowing through the main story, is because when Aristeel can't be bothered doing the stupid minutia in a JRPG, there's something wrong.
Yes.
And so it's clearly not going to be worth my time to investigate it if even he can't be bothered. I never platinum anything.
Nah.
Yeah, I platinumed Disgaea 5.
Which establishes you as officially crazy, by the way.
Hey, I had to do it. I had to do at least one to get it on my record. Platinum DMC Devil May Cry, the bad one, just to say I have the credentials to hate it.
That's just masochism.
Like, But no, I couldn't bring myself to do anything in this game. I could go back and get this platy really easy. It's not a bad platy. I could do it in like 5 hours.
You'd have
tops.
to play it.
But then I'd have to boot the game up again, and I want this thing off my hard drive as soon as I need hard drive space.
I also don't know for sure if that's true, because I was serious when I was talking about how big those final dungeons are. Like, each one of those final dungeons is about 4 or 5 hours long.
Yeah.
It's just a dungeon dive that goes deeper and deeper.
Yeah, I don't have reference for them other than what was in the main game, and those were.
I started one of them because I strongly suspected that there was a weapon down there, and then after being in there, fighting my way, bleeding through the thing for a couple of hours, I looked up how long it was, and I hadn't even scratched the surface.
Wow,
it was just it was a big no thanks, because it wasn't interesting. It was just it was a boring sewer maze.
Yeah, it's not very good, but I can't think of a person to recommend this game to, despite it getting all this praise. I don't.
People you hate.
Just like, who would I recommend this game to and that would legitimately like it? Tumblerinas? That's about it.
No. Because I don't like anything.
I think that it's the game is for like the boys love crowd who are going to write fanfics about the characters.
Yeah, or apparently reviewers, because they all loved it for some reason.
They loved it for the same reason they loved a DMC.
Like, I'm sorry, but the adventures of Emo Spice, Muscle Spice, Glasses Spice, and Chicken Head is not worth the time.
Well, maybe you just don't. Maybe you just I don't know if you can turn the difficulty down. Maybe there's an easy mode. I can't remember, but maybe you can like turn it down and you basically don't have to play the game. So they actually played it.
Maybe.
And so
Maybe.
they liked it because it allowed them to think of themselves as though they were actually a game reviewer.
I don't know. It's just, even people that I generally trust say the game's good. I'm like, what? Did we play a different game? Like, ugh. I'm gonna take a big look at my disc at some point.
I haven't played through the whole thing, but the bit I played, yeah, it hasn't hooked me the same way, which is why I'm not really.
It doesn't have a hook in it. It's not going to,
No.
because the story never gets excited. You start off on one errand, and they just randomly drop that errand, and you do another errand, and that continues throughout the game. It doesn't have a payoff.
There's no resolution to anything. There's no effective world building anywhere. The subtitle for this game could be "Because Reasons."
Because
you mean
reasons.
the title of the concept album?
Yes. Because Reasons. A concept album filmed throughout the lands of Insomnia or wherever by the Insomnia boy band.
I think it's called EOS. I'm not really sure.
I think so. Filmed all across EOS by the Insomnia boy band. And the Spice Girls that make it
the
up.
Same thing that 14. Eorzea is the world, the planet, and the god.
That said, this game is the one that probably ties in the most closely to the Final Fantasy XIV storyline. For those that don't know, Final Fantasy XIV basically ties all of the Final Fantasy worlds together. Like it's the one of the very, very few places in the multiverse where people know that all the worlds are connected. Like there is that knowledge has been able to sort of make landfall there, and occasionally people are able to cross over from one to another.
Yeah, more importantly though, unlike a lot of these other spin-offs, it does it in a meaningful way that actually makes sense, and it's not just an excuse plot.
It's not like Dissidia, where everybody gathers
any of the
so they can
mobile
have
releases.
Big scrap. But
yeah,
it's don't play it. Don't play it. I don't think that the thing is, I don't think you can really talk anybody out of playing it, and if they have already started or whatever, or they're into Final Fantasy games, and that's why it's attracted to them. Like, you're not going to be able to talk them out of it. I think that you need to really experience how far it's fallen for itself. I really hope that the next one they release is a lot better than this and a lot different, because this was not fun. This was this was like doing my dailies.
Yeah,
just do everything different. There's nothing interesting in the game. Combat system's boring. The enemies, some of them look cool, but most of them are recycled or fairly bland designs. Generic soldier units especially.
Well, although it was all old designs, but the actual models are gorgeous. Like when you fight that first behemoth for your that's my favourite part of the game. I think when you fight the first behemoth to unlock chocobo riding, and you've got to sort of creep along behind it.
Yeah.
And sort of stay, because it's only got one eye, and you've got to stay in its blind spot and stalk it until you can take it on in open battle. Like, I think that's probably the best part of the game. And it's just a random side quest about chocobos.
Yes, it's the required side quest to unlock the chocobos. Oh, it's just, there's nothing to keep you in that game. All the hooks that look like they could be interesting are not explained and are dropped. There's no resolution to any of them. You can't get invested in anything. But yeah, it only takes 20 hours to chew through it anyway if you blow through the main story. So if you're really determined, just don't do any of the side crap and just chew through the main story and call it done. You'll be glad you did.
To add
As
insult
far as
to
Final
injury,
Fantasy goes, that's tiny.
to add insult to injury, apparently you get a new regalia in the New Game Plus, and the regalia is a regalia that fly. But the problem is that it can't land anywhere. Like you can only land on long, empty stretches of road, so you basically can't use it to fly. The only use that it really has is to get to the dungeons which require flying access.
Yeah, there's also the monster truck variant of the regalia, which gets taken away from you, I might add, when you get into the linear part of the game. They just say, the regalia has had its customization undone. I'm like, what? No!
It just magically poofs back to regular car.
Well,
it just magically turns back into a normal car from monster truck.
The whole sequence where you have like the sort of the last big ride of the regalia, that wouldn't work if it was a monster truck because you would win.
Yeah. Spoiler alert: the regalia gets blown up. The car does not survive. It is a casualty of war.
And that should surprise absolutely no one.
No. Honestly, that car would never make it through the ending. Let's be real. It's too much of a central character. It has more character than all the Spice Girls inside of it.
It is a gorgeous car.
It does. It is a really nice car. And then they turn it into a monster truck, and it gets awesome.
Maybe they shouldn't have wasted so much dev time on the dang car.
Yeah, they should have just released a line of cars.
Make it a game about cars. It's Final Fantasy
No, I mean like actually commission those cars to be released for public purchase.
I'd buy one.
There is a regalia, actually.
I know, but there's one. I'm talking about releasing it as a standard model, as a promotional thing for Final Fantasy.
I wouldn't buy that car; it'd be too expensive. But it would be a cool-looking car. Ugh.
Boy.
Okay. Is it bloody good if we beat it to death?
Yep. I think that horse has been beaten.
It's about as much Final Fantasy 15 as is worth talking about, and then some.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Let's talk about something happy, please. Please say you got something happy to talk about.
Well, I don't have anything happy. I'm about to become homeless. Remember?
I know. So it's Ari's week. Talk about something happy.
We should go to a break first.
All right. We should do that.
Yep.
That's happy.
Over an hour in.
I guess.
So here's some music that hopefully Twitch won't tag. I was about to go Rambo on them until I learned it was an audio tag.
Yeah.
But nope. All right, we'll be back in a minute.
Okay, we're off.
That game is bad.
So bad.
Oh wow! I just got a tutorial window in Extella.
Why?
Because apparently I've never seen this one before. I didn't know you could just use command seals at random, but you can. I've never done it before. But the thing is that all of the button prompts do change in Fate Extella when you plug in a DualShock 4. They become DualShock 4 buttons, so the little touchpad is a button and so on and so forth, and they appear in the corner. And apparently the options button brings up your ability to use command seals during battle. There's no options button on the DualShock 3, so I never did it.
Right, I thought it was just save up 3 command seals, Noble Phantasm.
No, those are Phantasm circuits. Command seals they allow you to resurrect your servant when they go down 3 times, or you can burn them all at once to turn your character into like a double power juggernaut.
Nice. Yeah, okay, I didn't know about that feature either.
BRB drenched in sweat.
Yep.
I should go check the tub. Oh Don't check the tub. It smells like soap.
Actually, I'm gonna mute that stream.
And we are back.
Yes.
So, I think we were at the end of All's week, but do we have anything else in your week before we move on?
No, I haven't really had time for anything else. I hope to have more time for things in future, but I need a house first.
No, we're in the adult world. Time is a luxury we just don't get.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
I wish that were the case, but unfortunately I can't get enough hours at work, so...
Yeah, you're kind of the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah. Time management is difficult, but I guess we'll start with my week. As of the new year, I have effectively been in hell week at work since the year started, and it will continue until next Friday. We've got a whole lot of cleanup we need to do from backed up orders around Christmas and New Year's, and for the last 2 weeks, I've effectively done nothing. I have managed this week, though, to at least wrap up a few things I've been poking at, so I can talk about them. And I'm not going to give you your wish, Vern. We're going to keep the not happy train going for a bit. We'll get to pseudo happy stuff later, but right now the not happy train continues, where I'm going to make an enemy of everybody in the world, apparently, because everyone praises this game like it's the second coming of Jesus. But I hated Super Mario Odyssey. Hated it.
Okay.
So I could have chewed my way through this game in one day if I wanted, but the real issue, there's a lot of issues with this game. I'm not even sure where to really start with it. So, with Super Mario Odyssey, it's touted as being, the successor to Super Mario Galaxies, which were fairly good games. I like those. Super Mario 64 that everybody remembers, Sunshine that most people remember. Most of those fairly solid games. Yeah. Well.
Yeah, Sunshine's a bit, yeah.
Well, that's all garbage. That's not what this is. Just straight up. This game is a unique entity that has dumbed down Mario for a new audience. That is what this is. This is clearly a new installment on a familiar franchise on a system that has been toned down to such a degree that a 3-year-old could play it and beat it. Comfortably, I might add. None of the objectives are difficult. Not a single one challenged me, period. And I consider myself upper average as far as gaming skill goes. I'm not good at games, but I am not bad.
Did you get all 800 odd moons?
No, not yet. I don't think I'll be able to make myself go do it either. But from what I understand, the rest of the 600-ish moons I gotta go get are just as boring as the first 200-something. And this number should give you a hint as to why I have a problem with this game. The number of moons is 880. This is the Power Star equivalent in this game. Now,
yes,
in previous Mario games, when you got a Shine Sprite or a star or whatever, it was like you finished a real objective and you felt, and that's your reward. You did it. Good job. Here's your sticky star. Literally a star. In this game, they give out power moons for talking to random NPCs, for opening random crates in the level. And it doesn't kick you out of the level when you get one. So it's just like picking up a blue coin in Sunshine or something. They have no value when you get them. They're not rewarding. It's so boring after a while to just get a moon for looking to your left, get a moon for walking up this hill. Most of them are just sitting out in the open, and you can just go walk up and get it. Some of them are behind an incredibly obvious puzzle, in air quotes, which in all the puzzles in this game involved, there is a clearly possessible enemy with the mechanic in this game where you can throw your hat and take control of enemies. Where you possess the thing near you and solve the air quote puzzle with its one ability. Now, this trend continues through the entire game. But what makes it especially bad is it conditions you into bad habits the whole way through. For instance, you will see a shiny spot on the ground in the first 2 levels, and if you ground pound on it, you get a moon. And in subsequent levels, these shiny spots show up a lot more. But not all of them have moons. So they waste your time ground pounding things just to have Goombas pop out or something. It is incredibly bad. To waste your time every time you see a piece of ground that can be ground pounded on and get, a coin. It's very obnoxious. It's not clear in telling you what is and is not going to give you a moon. Climb up to the top of a tree. Oh, there's a power moon. If you climb all the way to the top and do a flip off of it. Okay, I guess I'll have to do that for every single tree now on it, and there'll be one more later at a random point that does it. Because it's not like a guide to get these things unless you use the hint system, where you have to pay 100 coins or something to get a hint to a star and have its location marked on your map of it, the ballpark of where it is. No, you just got to do random junk in every level until it spits out a moon. Go climb up this tree. Go possess a bullet bill and fly around in circles around the entire level until you happen upon a moon. Like, it's just a whole lot of this garbage. They're either really obtuse and really garbage, or just given to you for free. There's no distinction between the two either. If there's a challenge, there's like one challenging gauntlet I can think of in the game where I actually died, and that was where you had to possess a bullet bill in the Sand Kingdom, and you had to fly in through a maze without hitting any of the walls. Like, that was the only time I died in the game. Like, legitimately, when I wasn't just derping around or a mechanic just fudged up. So, but the reward for that is just a moon. Like everything else in the game, you get a moon. And then there's the really just badly designed moons. Like, one of them, there's one city called Metro City, that's the big one in all the advertisements where Mario runs around the city. And you get a moon for sitting on a bench next to a guy. So, of course, every time you see a guy after that point on a bench in any world, you gotta sit and talk with him. And not any of the other ones give you a moon. It is just this completely arbitrary crap that they say, yeah, this can give you a moon. Maybe. So you wind up with a checklist so long in every level. I guess I got to climb up every tree, break every crate, sit on every bench, ground pound every piece of floor, when most of it's just going to give you a coin.
It's like, are they trying to sell strategy guides or something?
They must be. It's just bad. Like, it's really bad. And what's worse, I would normally get a completionist urge even with all this garbage and just have to chew my way through the whole game anyway. But the reason I'm not so upset about not completing the game is because you can't complete it on your first way through. In this game, over half of the moons are locked. I mean, they're not like phased out or anything. They're just not there. There's no way to access some of the areas, period, until you beat the game. Mm-hmm. So you have to go back to every single world and explore the entire thing again. So it actually punishes you for doing a thorough exploration the first time. Like, what? And in addition to this, it makes it even worse for you because you do not need to collect a certain amount of stars to eventually get to Bowser. You have to get a certain number of stars in every single world. Like, you need 13, and any surplus you get, just go to your moon counter. That's it. It just increases your number. I did not enjoy this game at all. All the challenges were so dang easy, and they gave you a moon for everything. There is a triple moon, technically, you get for beating bosses and completing story objectives, but every other puzzle or whatever is just, here's a moon, here's a moon, here's a moon, all moons, all day, all the time. The only other collectible is to buy cosmetics with the purple coins, and these are not very well hidden except for the ones that are, like, BS to get. Like, they're hanging off the side of a level BS to get. Like, you would have to die to get some of them, or have a player 2 play as the hat. Like, that's how garbage they are. I don't like this game. I don't know how to put it other than that. There's just no feeling of gratification when you complete any challenge, because they're all so easy or so obtuse, there's no way you could have seen it. There's not a single moon in the game where I just went, okay, that was a fun challenge, I enjoyed doing that, or one that said, okay, that was a challenge that I actually had to sit down and think about, and that was interesting. There was not a single piece of that in the game. The boss fights, while some of them have potential, most of them are playing the waiting game. Even the Dark Souls dragon.
He doesn't really look like a Dark Souls dragon.
He looks like Madeira, dude.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
He's bright purple.
Madeira's purple too in Phase 3.
So, yeah, it's interesting because that's your experience with it. I've played somebody else's copy of it for a bit, and he was about Star or Moon, I suppose, 400 at that point. And yeah, that's when I was starting to find the challenge. I also found plenty of easy ones and wasn't particularly challenged by a certain number. But
I think that you're both looking at this in radically different ways.
I think we are.
Because Ari actually wants to complete it. You don't care.
I'd like to play through it eventually. I just don't have a Switch, so it's hard to care.
Well, I mean, that's neither here nor there. The fact is that you don't care about getting all of the moons. Ari goes in caring about getting all of the moons, and when that's presented to him as a unreasonable task filled with drudge work, of course he's going to be hacked off about it. Like that.
Yeah.
That's a Disgaea Platinum there. It's pretty much just work.
Yes.
Yeah, and like it's more work than Disgaea Platinum, because at least the Disgaea Platinum had challenges associated with the drudge work. The drudge work was building you up to complete a very hard task to get the Platty. In Mario, it's just, here's another moon. Like, and it's just, I don't like it. I don't like the way the worlds are structured. I don't like their generic themes, like Sand World, Lake World, Seaside World, Ice World.
Have you seen a Mario game in the past? They're all exactly the same.
It doesn't matter. It's at this point, they could do a bit more than generic theming. Like, they've done it before.
Mario.
They've done it before. They've set to a game's theme in Sunshine before and had unique levels. And those levels,
kinda.
They fit the game's theme, and they weren't generic element type world. Like, they've done this before. But in this game, it is exclusively element type world, and most of them have god-awful level design. Especially the small ones like Lake World, where they somehow managed to cram 30 power stars or moons or whatever into a map that is about as big as, what's a good metaphor for this? Like, the outside of Peach's castle in Mario 64 is the entire world.
That's not very big.
Which is ironic, because that map is actually in Odyssey.
Yeah, so I was not happy when I finished this game, by the way. And I went and watched another guy's review on it. If you want a guy who can articulate the thoughts I have on it better, there's a guy on YouTube who covered every single moon in the game. And I've recommended him before. His name's Joseph Anderson. And he did a review of Odyssey that pretty closest to my thoughts on the game. And he goes into much more in-depth with every single moon. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every single moon in detail of how I didn't like it. That'd be obnoxious and take forever. So if you want to really understand what I thought, go watch his video and see how he explains those moons. And then put yourself in the completionist mindset. And you'll get pretty close to how I was. So, yeah, I don't... If you are looking to play this game and you're going to treat it like a game you want to 100%, don't do it. Like, I can't even really recommend it to chew through quickly unless you're just really like Mario. If you really like Mario, it's probably okay to chew through and blow through the main story. But this ain't no 97 out of 100. This is a 97 out of 100 with the asterisk on it if it's considered a kid's game. Like, this game was clearly built to make new Mario fans. This is not a game, despite all the nostalgia pandering, for the old fans. That is not what this is. You are going to be so bored out of your mind with most of these moons. So yeah, I don't like it. I can't recommend it. I don't want to beat on it too much anymore because these two haven't played it, so there's nothing really to bounce off of with it. Well, Fern's played it, but he hasn't beat it.
No, I played Dark Souls Dragon. Okay, I'm going to stop calling it Dark Souls Dragon now. Version 3, I think.
Yeah, that's another thing. You fight every single boss in the game at least twice.
Yeah.
Except for the final Bowser. No, even the Bowser fight's rehashed. It just gets harder the second time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then some of the worlds are there for padding, too, by the way. Don't look at the world list and think, oh, that's a lot of worlds. No, some of them are incredibly tiny, and some of them are effectively just boss arenas. Like, Dark Souls Dragon is just Dark Souls Dragon. He has his own world. Like, Bowser's first fight is just clouds. And that's Cloud Kingdom, just Bowser. I think you can go back and get some power moons there later.
Yeah,
like 3 of them.
It grows later.
No, they don't grow, but they get power moons, and they're like 3.
Yeah, Cloud Kingdom grows. Well, kind of.
Yeah, so, no. If you're a Mario fan, you can check it out, I guess, and see if you like it, since everybody's going to be talking about it, and you probably want to check it out. But if you're not super into Mario specifically, and the nostalgia pandering ain't going to draw you in, don't bother with it, honestly. Yeah. I can't give it a recommendation, especially to people that want to complete it.
I do have to acknowledge one fun little bit of writing I found in there, in the post-game. Peach just goes off on her own. She just doesn't tell anyone, she walks off. And everyone's carrying on like she's been kidnapped again.
Yeah, I did like the ending though, with the way you stop the wedding, because of course you do. You stop the wedding where Bowser's trying to marry Peach, and you both fight over her attention, and then she's just like, "Peace, I'm out," and gets on your ship and flies away without you.
Yeah, she just leaves.
She's like, "I'm done with y'all, both of y'all. I'm out." And then she packs up her bags and goes on vacations in all the different worlds.
Yeah, we've been doing this for 30 years. I'm out.
So it was quite funny. I did like that bit. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of the other stuff I could go into. I could go into the clashing art design of some of the monsters and the humans versus the cartoony aspect of the Mario world, how it doesn't work. I could talk in specific about some moon types that are repeated ad nauseum, like slot machines, but there's a bunch of those, so I won't have time. I'm just going to tell you again, go watch Jay's video if you want specifics. But yeah, ooh, boy, I didn't like that game. I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to go back and finish it, probably, unless I get the urge to like make myself mad.
Yeah, you'll probably do that at some point.
So yeah, I've been chipping away at that for weeks in pieces since Christmas. So even though it's a fairly short game, I've only had enough time to finish it now. Let's talk on something that surprised me, though, that I actually didn't think I would enjoy at all and almost gave up on, but wound up actually really liking it by the end.
Okay.
And this is, from what I understand, it's a radically different adaptation from the original. I've not made it far in the original and thought it was schlocky, hyper-violent trash. And almost did that with this adaptation, but Devilman got a new adaptation for its 50th anniversary on Netflix exclusively. And this is important because when Netflix says they have a Netflix original, and it's specifically a Netflix original anime, what this means is it is a very Americanized anime that is just drawn in an anime style that they have funded, or it is a Japanese anime that's coming out in this season that they just got the license to, and they slapped the Netflix original logo on it. Devilman Crybaby, this most recent adaptation, is the first anime they've funded that is made by a proper Japanese studio and director. So it has significance in that. And yes, for anybody that knows anything about this particular series, you have to be practically immune to violence and breasts to get anywhere. You're not going to like it if those are going to turn you off. Like, I don't particularly like them either, but I'm immune to them. I'm completely desensitized. So I was able to get past it. And I know a lot of people are not. Just going to put that up front. It is a very hyper-violent, edgy show. It's hyper-graphic and hyper-sexualized. Like there's a mid-air rape scene. That's how ridiculous it gets. And it's a heroic mid-air rape scene. Imagine that.
Huh?
Exactly. But
just unplug your brain. Everything in it is deplorable.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's just horrible everywhere. So normally this would turn me off right away, but I don't even know what it really was that kept me going through to the end. It was just a really interesting story with the characters, the way they took them, which from what I understand is completely different from the way they took them in the manga.
There are no characters
in the original
in the
adaptation.
Manga. Period. End. There are no characters. Nobody has a character. Everybody is an arbitrary marionette who kills things. That's all. No characters exist.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time building up the emotional moments in this story, particularly with Akira and his girlfriend. And although there's a couple side characters they actually do a lot with, too. They do a lot with one of the Rapanese people, who just are Japanese rappers, who walk around and rap randomly in the show. It's actually really funny when they show up. But they do some stuff with him, but he's voiced by Bryce Babinbrook, so I hate him. So my opinion of him is colored, to say the least. But, yeah,
it's inevitable. It's only a matter of time until there's Babinbrook.
Yeah, but his girlfriend was a nobody in the original story, and she gets a ton of character development and is a really cool character. Like, she actually has a proper good character arc with the main characters. It's really cool. And her emotional climax hits at the end. And for people that don't know, the story ends terribly for everybody. All parties involved have a bad time. This is misanthropic as it gets.
The original storyline just ends stupidly. Like, it's just dumb. Sure, it ends bad for everybody, but it doesn't end bad for everybody for any reason. It just does because they wanted to stop telling the story. So they just kill everybody.
Yeah.
Like, in the span of, like, the last couple chapters, literally everybody in the cast dies. Everyone.
Yeah, spoilers, but yeah, pretty close.
And not for any good reason. Just for some old, crappy, humans are the real monsters canard, which was old in the 70s when the story was written.
they have the everybody's dying and everything's terrible forever plotline going here, but the focus is more on the emotional climax with the main characters and how that builds. Like, when things end terribly for one of the main characters, that's what they're spending their screen time building to. They're not focusing very much on the humans are evil element. That's more like a flaw the villain has in his worldview and why he set up this garbage. And it's presented as he did it and he's a bad person for doing it, less than humans are evil. So I did like that aspect of it. I was very glad they only showed a brief screenshot of Trump when they flashed the president of the USA and didn't make a Trump joke. That made me a little happy. But yeah, none of this extra canon stuff is in this adaptation at all. Nothing from Devilman Lady or the Amon release or the OVA specials. None of that's in here. It's just the core storylines, emotional high points.
The
taken
worst storyline of any of the sagas, aside from the fact that it surprisingly has the smallest amount of rapes in it.
Yeah. Only one in the main story, as it turns out. But yes, I don't really know why I enjoyed it so much. I just felt, especially the emotional climaxes at the end were worth it. It was worth it to sit through to the end. And I did almost drop it by 4. I almost wrote it off as just more hyperviolent schlock. But it managed to keep my attention, and I was really surprised. I didn't think it was going to. Most of those shows, the only other hyperviolent show that's done that is, forget its name. It's the one with the blood powers. And I had it in my head and I forgot. Anyway.
Blood Blockade Battlefront?
No,
Good.
one. No,
that is
good.
extremely good, yes.
No, it's a guy with a camera that takes pictures of things and they explode.
I remember the one, I just don't remember what it's called.
Oh, yeah, I think I can remember. I can't... Yeah.
It's the only other schlocky show that's been able to hold my attention like that. And I was really surprised that this show was actually... I enjoyed it. I can't even put my finger on really why I enjoyed it. I've seen these emotional climaxes done before. I've even seen them done better. But for some reason, they just really hit with this show.
I have no intention of watching it or reviewing it because as far as I'm concerned, it is impossible for it not to be rubbish. Fundamentally impossible. Because the source material has no redeemable features. None. Zero. Zilch. Zip. Nada. There is nothing there.
The biggest change they made from the manga to this adaptation particularly, that I've heard anyway, like I said, I don't know very much about the original releases other than a quick wiki read, is
eyebrows?
There are no combat eyebrows. There's no garbage in this, like, the silly filler combat eyebrows. There's no giant Devilman and fighting robots. All Devilman has is enhanced strength, flight, and he eventually gets pyrokinesis. Like, that's it. Those are his only powers.
He flies by flapping his ears.
He grows proper wings in this one. Wow, that's loud. Holy
that is the biggest douche yet.
It's actually really quiet from where I'm sitting. This microphone. It's microphone voodoo.
Yeah, that hurt. Holy crap. Ugh, my transport just got wrecked. Ugh. But yeah, this adaptation cuts out all the filler garbage, and it does something interesting with the villains, where this would make sense in the original author. I'm surprised that he didn't do this, but they make all the villains have a personal connection to Akira or his girlfriend. Like, Akira is personally invested in the stories of these villains, whether he knows it or not. They're connected to him in some way. They're not just Monster of the Week. So that's what held me through the air quote Monster of the Week part at the beginning, was to see where they were going with this. And I thought it worked out pretty well. I don't recommend it to everybody. It's a pseudo recommendation, like I said in the Discord. But it's there if you want to watch it and you can deal with that stuff. If you like that kind of schlocky stuff, go for it. You'll probably really like it. But if you can tolerate it, it's also pretty good. If it completely turns you off, don't even give it a shot, because you're not going to be able to deal with what happens later if you can't get through the schlock.
The reality is that it is stupid and vile. That's all there is to it. It's objectively stupid and vile. If you like watching stupid, vile things, then you'll like it.
Yeah, like that is a selling point of the thing. I particularly would have liked it if it was cut there, but at least they tried to use it in a way that makes sense with the narrative. It's kind of weird to explain that without super spoilers, but they make the hyper-violence kind of feel tonally relevant. So, yeah, it's there as a pseudo recommendation for people that might be interested. I just turned it on a whim, not really knowing what I was getting into, TBH, and just kind of wound up making my way through for no real reason other than I just needed something to do while I was doing work. So yeah, there's that. Let's see. What else was I going to talk about? A little bit of Gwent, briefly. Another round of Gwent. So this weekend, I finally got my paycheck. It had been held in hostage for like 12 days due to shifting to direct deposit and silly things at work happening simultaneously, messing up when I get paid. So my paycheck for the second half of last month had been held hostage for 12 days.
Because your bosses are 20 years behind current technology?
Yeah. So I had $3.24 for like 10 days. And had to find unique ways to live. But my paycheck finally came in, and I'd been planning to buy a few packs of Gwent cards anyway, so I dropped 60 on their 60 card bundle. So it's $1 a pack. That's fairly reasonable IMO for a card game. What I didn't expect, though, was this weekend is premium card weekend in the kegs. I didn't know what that meant. I'm like, okay, whatever. All the card kegs are premiums. What does that mean? That means you get an animated card for the guaranteed rare higher card in every pack. Guaranteed it's animated, so shiny or whatever. So when you disenchant it or mill it, if you have extra copies, you get a ton of crafting materials. So this effectively let me finish 2 decks for $60. That is unheard of in most TCGs that are actually good. So I was really, really excited to play with these decks and have been playing, although today I've been having trouble getting matches for some reason. I don't know if it's a server issue or what's going on, but I've been able to get matches just fine before, like whenever I want. But today in particular, it's pretty difficult. But yeah, I was really excited and just getting to experience the value when I actually put money in the game and like 60 card packs where I could choose the card that I wanted for the rare higher card to make making those decks easier. It was just so amazing for somebody that normally has to go pay $60 for those singles in real life TCGs. But yeah, I was really happy. And on top of that, all the cards for those decks are shiny animated, so it's really cool. I don't know if this is them just not understanding what they did, but
I think they understand perfectly what they do. They seem to realize that one of the best parts about TCGs is opening packs to find something cool.
I don't know. I think of it more like this. I think that they have realized that it doesn't actually cost as much to run a TCG as Blizzard pretends like it does, and so they are just undercutting them in order to troll the crap out of Hearthstone.
That could also be a possibility.
Yeah, and something I love about this game in particular is I've got to experience it this week when a few of the cards got changed in a patch. They do radical changes to cards. Like, they don't have this fear of it that Blizzard has. And just seeing every deck, even the scrub tier decks, be a challenge for my deck that I spent money on was kind of exciting to me, even though I'm stuck at just above scrub tier. Because I'm not quite good with the game yet, I'm still learning. But even the scrub decks are challenging to my money deck, and that's really cool to me. You can totally play this game and win with a scrub tier deck because it's so well balanced. Yeah, so my current deck is a monster deck with the Necker and Necker Warrior series that makes copies of the Neckers that go in your deck, and anytime you consume anything, no matter where they are, they all get buffed.
And yes, we are well aware of the linguistic issue here.
Yes, we are.
Neckers are goblinoids.
Yeah.
By the way,
they're ghoulish things. Not ghouls. That's a different monster, but
yeah,
they look like ghouls in a thong.
What?
Yeah, it's still The Witcher, so there is nudity for no reason around the place.
Well, it's explicitly there to hide the nudity. I think it's why the thong's there on the card game.
Because nobody wants to see that.
If it was naked in the original source, it's now wearing a butt flap.
Pretty much. Oh, but yeah, the whole strategy in my deck right now is to put as many of the Necker card into my deck as possible, because the Necker Warrior puts 3 copies of any card on the field into your deck that you own. So you could just put a ton of them in there, and then buff all of them by every time you consume something. So it effectively just aims to make the deck as consistent as possible with its own engine. It doesn't have a whole lot of counterplay right now, because I don't really know how the meta works or how other decks function. I'm still learning. But a lot of the cards I pulled then are good meta counterplay cards. I can't wait to really start understanding and trying them out. I'm really excited to get good at this game. I'm just really happy that there's a card game that actually cares about its customers.
I know, right? I could imagine what a game would look like where they really don't care and have no idea what they're doing. Oh, wait.
Yeah. Imagine that. Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Hearthstone. And
Oh,
Magic
no, Duel Links is
turn
pretty good.
sunblocks. Duel Links is good. Although
Yeah,
it's still
Yu-Gi-Oh! Link
way
format.
too expensive for what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's still way overpriced for what it is, but it is really good for Yu-Gi-Mons.
Yeah. It got rid of a whole lot of the crap that the game seems to have accumulated over the years.
They're up to the Cyber Dragons now, I think. So they're into the GX era, but yeah. I don't know much about the links.
But now, so you get halfway through a game and then get kidnapped.
Mokuba. Yeah, you can play as like Aster, the Cyber Dragon guy, or the Destiny Heroes guy. So the heroes are coming into the game, and that's where the game gets a little weird. So
yeah, hours are completely bonkers.
The base elemental heroes are fun. They're just a toolbox of fusion combos. You can fuse whichever ones with whatever to get whatever tool you want. But eventually they get absolutely ridiculous. Like fuse any elemental hero with a water monster to play a monster that can board wipe everything. Ridiculous.
Oh dear.
They kind of broke the game. A lot of them have been banned. But the initial release of them is really good, and I actually played Evil Heroes deck, which is their dark counterpart. So that was one of my first decks I took into competitive. So I might get back into it just to play with the E-Heroes again. I do like the heroes. Until they get ridiculous. Pre-Tech Ev heroes. There we go. There we go. So yeah, there was probably more stuff that was small in my week, but I've just been so busy. Just poking at Gwent, finishing up Odyssey, and watching a random anime on Netflix, all I had time for.
Yeah.
And the anime was watched while I was working.
I gotta say, actually, I did have a quick look at Neo Yokio while I was rummaging around Netflix.
Why?
It is bad.
It's
trying to be self-aware.
meme bait.
It is meme bait. It's trying to be.
It's not even self-aware.
Give the
it's
impression
meme
of
bait.
it.
I
No.
classify them as separate things now.
Yeah.
Because there's such a thing as forcing a meme. Like, they are just trying to create meme fodder. Self-awareness, in order to really be self-aware, you've got to, at least be a little bit clever.
Yep. They're not. They just repeat the same joke over and over and over and over and over.
The anime with Will Smith's kid is not self-aware. I guarantee it.
It's extremely bad. Do not watch Neo Yokio.
Can't remember if he directed it, wrote it, or was a character in it, but he's in there somewhere.
It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's really bad. I'd go watch Seven Deadly Sins on there again, I suppose, just for some harmless shonen fluff.
But Pappenbrook's the pro tag.
Yeah.
Oh no, not Peppenbrook.
You can't escape the Pappenbrook. He's everywhere.
I think he's every single anime that's a big deal that Netflix has got a hold of as Pappenbrook as the lead.
Oh yeah.
SAO, Attack on Titan, Unlimited Blade Works.
I knew I hated Kirito for more than one reason.
Seven Deadly Sins. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it appropriate that Pappenbrook is Kirito because it gives me extra baggage to hit him on, to beat him to death with. Like, it's just bad.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's just so not online. Ugh.
Why'd you get eaten by the unions, Freeman? Come back.
Come back.
Save us. Play Alucard again. Save us from the Pappenbrook.
There is no escape from the Pappenbrook. He's everywhere.
Why'd all my favorite voice actors have to get nom-nom by the unions? Oh, wait, because they control the entire industry, and if they don't join, they don't have a job.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of them do work under aliases.
Yeah, they do.
But the reality is that most voice actors in America pay the bills by like doing radio ad voiceovers and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah.
They should learn Japanese and go over there. They become superstars.
Siri are big deal in Japan, but no, they wouldn't.
Voice actors are a commodity over there, particularly the female ones. Like they're controlled completely, much in the way Idol is, though not quite to the same extent.
Yeah, they're a big deal over there. You don't want to try and get in that industry.
Yep.
Well, a lot of people do until they find out what it's like to be in it.
Yeah, until they're actually on the inside.
Yeah, ours is messed up and unionized to death, but theirs is terrible. Like, it's scary. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. Also, watch the Japanese for Devilman if you're going to watch it, because the English dub's a little on the low end. It's not terrible.
Little Pappenbrook.
But Little Pappenbrook as the side characters in there, and the main two characters are fine. Akira and Rio are fine. The girlfriend's fine, but everybody else is like not very good. Ugh. So yeah, we'll call it there.
Yep. All right. We should do some news.
We have a few things.
We do. We do indeed.
Did y'all find anything? Because I think I'm the only one that posted stuff in there.
Yeah, it's pretty much all you this week. Everything I found I'd already found or was just not really interesting.
All right. I guess I'll lead in since I dug them up, and one of you can take the other one.
All right.
I guess it would be prudent, since I was the only one that actually watched this thing. Well, I say watched. I watched a summary of what it was. There was a Nintendo Direct Mini that happened. And it's not very substantial, but there's a few interesting things to talk about. We'll get to the biggest one later, but the small one that everybody's excited about is the Dark Souls port is actually going to Switch. So they're remastering Dark Souls, the first one, for everything, and it's going to Switch. So it's on a Nintendo console now,
it's gonna be
which feels
Skyrim.
weird.
Yeah, but why though? Why? The first Dark Souls is the worst of the series.
The people have nostalgia for it because when it came out, it was like the new hot thing.
Well, I'm
going
to enjoy watching them try and act like it's actually good now that they're playing it again after all this time.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I loved going into those games without the nostalgia. It made judging them very easy.
Yeah, the Souls series itself is an enormous anomaly, really. Like, on paper, it looks like it should not work at all because everything on that piece of paper is bad.
Like,
but it somehow works.
It was a novelty when Demon Souls and Dark Souls came out, and Dark Souls 2, even the fans most of the time don't try and defend it.
No.
Like they realized that one was pretty bad. But yeah, Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3, I like them. So maybe they're going that way. They're following the direction that those two games are going. So it could pick up. There is a new game coming out by them soon, and I am excited to see what it is after playing through Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3.
Have they actually announced much details on that yet?
No, we just have a trailer, but it looked like Bloodborne 2 from the trailer, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's grimdark and the world is covered in an extra layer of feces, so it could be either world.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. Other small things. Donkey Kong is coming to both the Rabbids, and he's bringing Tropical Freeze over to the Switch.
Yay!
So, porting a Wii U game.
Wait, did you say Rabbids?
Yeah, he's joining the cast in Rabbids as a DLC, like the Mario Rabbids game.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why is it always Rabbids? Why? Are there people that like it?
Yeah, that game's like a lot of people's game of the year. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, that game actually turned out to be surprisingly good.
But it's still about Rabbids.
I'm not going to give it a shot.
Despite
yeah, it's about Rabbids.
the Rabbids.
If it didn't have Rabbids in it, I would give it a shot. But it has Rabbids in it. Just, Rabbids. But yeah, Donkey Kong's going to be a DLC in that.
Rabbids still smell to me like a forced meme that didn't take.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're intentionally trying to be minions.
It's like if they tried to make a Star Wars spin-off entirely about porgs. Which I'm sure will happen this year.
Don't give them ideas.
I'm expecting it this year. Because remember that they're doing a spin-off on every off year that they don't release a main entry.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the Star Wars discussion again.
No, please don't.
I hardly need to. Like, every time I go onto YouTube, there's like 15 more videos about why it's trash.
Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to dodge spoilers right now?
I've stopped trying. I went and looked up what happens, and I am glad I haven't paid money for it.
Yeah, I will eventually go see it with my friends when the hell week at work is over and I get some free time. Which hopefully will be at the end of this week. Hopefully. Big asterisk on that. Let's see. Other things, small things before we get to the bigger stuff. Mario Tennis is getting a new game. And it hasn't been good since the Nintendo 64 one.
I've never really cared for Mario Tennis. Or any tennis game, for that matter.
Yeah, I couldn't get into the GameCube one, but I really like the N64 one. Granted, at the time, it was kind of a novelty, so not so much anymore. Yeah. Let's see. So I guess we'll do the big stuff now because the rest of the small stuff isn't very interesting. The smallest of the big stuff is The World Ends With You is getting a remake for the Switch, a game that is really good and has only been released on the classic DS.
Also rather strange, if I recall.
It's not that strange. Just their take on the afterlife. It's not that weird.
Okay, I might be thinking of a different one.
Yeah,
One
Rolling With You is Headphone Boy.
Clothes-based combat.
Pins or something.
Yeah, you put pins on your clothes and they give you different combat abilities. But,
Yeah, that'd be the one then.
That's just a different type of material, really.
Yeah, your clothing does affect your stats, though. If you wear clothing that's popular in the certain area of town you're in, you get combat boosts.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, so World Ends With You, for those that you don't know, you've probably seen the main character, Neku, with purple headphones and orange hair. And, yeah, it was a really good game on the DS that just, unfortunately, stayed on the DS and never got a port or a sequel or anything. And I was really sad, because I really liked the game. I didn't like its controls, but I really liked the game. Because you had to do combat simultaneously with the touchpad and the face buttons.
I think that most people liked that.
That never works.
I think most people felt that it was novel.
I did not like that control scheme at all, but I did like the game and the story it told. It was fairly simple for JRPG standards, and it's not really a JRPG. It's more like an action game, but it's really fun. I do recommend people pick up the game if they haven't played it, and if the Switch version's any good, then I'll probably pick it up again just to play it without those terrible controls.
Yeah.
So, that was the smallest of the big updates. Let's see. The biggest one. The one everyone's talking about. SNK Waifu Fighters is coming.
Because cheesecake sells. It sells like nothing else on earth.
It makes Gynax blush.
It is SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. It's a 2D proper fighting game in the SNK engine, which people like. The SNK engine is really fun to play in, so I can see that. And at this point, I can't tell if it's the waifu factor or the fact that people are just starving for an SNK game at this point that's not like King of Fighters.
Probably both.
I think the latter most likely, because most of the SNK females don't have enormous followings, other than Mai Shiranui.
Yeah.
Mai Shiranui has enormous
Lots of enormous assets of various kinds.
Yes.
Very, very active assets at that in every animation.
Free roaming.
They are. She is free. That is true. Very unrestricted clothing. That might. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so aside from Mai, all the SNK girls appear to be here. Yuri, Asuka, what's her name, Athena, and the Ice Girl. Like, those are the ones I recognized. I'm not a super SNK fan. But yeah, it looked solid from the trailer, the little bit of gameplay we saw.
It looks
but
weird.
Everyone is. It does look weird.
It does.
But everyone is hyped for this game that plays fighting games. They're just so starved for SNK games that this is just so hyped.
What are they going to do? Play King of Fighters?
Whoa. Oh, poor Max tried to shill for that game for a while. It didn't go well for him.
He really picks the worst things to shill for.
Seriously does.
It takes money from anybody, I'm pretty sure, at this point. Although even he can't contain his hype with DBZ Fighters.
Well, he couldn't. He would have to. If he wasn't talking about it at all, people would just stop watching him. Because that's all anybody cares about right now.
They'd all go back to White Thero when he was doing stuff, because he's coming back and covering stuff again, and he's much better than Max. So, oh dear. But yeah, I guess we can pseudo-segue, since there isn't really much more to talk about with the Nintendo Direct Mini. Just not a whole lot of stuff here. Yeah, I don't see anything else really that's worth talking about. But yeah, it happened. There's a few things coming. There's your rundown. There's also a Pokken Tournament thing with new DLC, but, you know, nobody cares. Hyrule Warriors DLC, but nobody cares.
I care. Hyrule Warriors is great.
Good grief, they're just shilling endless DLC, it feels like.
Yeah, Nintendo has found the DLC button. And
yeah.
They're like the kid late to the party that gets to play with the toy after everybody else, and they just don't know how to do it right, so they just keep playing with it. nonstop.
I don't
DLC
know.
button.
They've done a lot better than certain other companies with the DLCs.
Their pricing's still really bad though. Holy
Yeah.
crap! Especially
Mario Kart
on
DLC
the
was actually great.
especially on the EU store. Holy crap! You people pay too much money for this stuff.
Welcome to, basically our market.
Yeah, I would not be having video games as a hobby if I had to pay that much. Not happening. So yeah,
We've been putting up with it so long now, it just doesn't. We're used to it.
yeah.
That
I
doesn't
was-
said though, we still sidestep it wherever possible.
The release price for Nintendo 64 games got up to $130.
That's more than twice what ours were. I don't think they went over 50 actually. I think the highest they got was 50. They didn't creep up till 60 until the Xbox 360 generation.
A lot of the big name releases so far announced for 2018 are over the 100 mark. Like I think Monster Hunter World is 120.
Yeah, that's what I'm paying for both DBZ Fighters and Monster Hunter World.
Yep.
Good lord,
So
you people.
Australia,
Australia.
No, don't go there. Don't go
Australia, we have birds that will drop flames on your head, as it turns out.
there. If you want to play
I'm kidding.
Vidya, come here. Come to me. Don't go to them. Our prices are sane. Oh dear. But yes, this is a pseudo segue into a small topic. DBZ Fighters came out, and I haven't played it because I didn't import it, because only the import copies are out. And a lot of people are very confused about this, and I figured I'd say this on the show just to clear up what's going on. The dudes that are playing right now have imported the Japanese copy. That's what's happening. So that's what's the deal with that. But yeah, coverage is starting for the game, and it looks really good, and I'm excited to play it because it looks really, really fun. I'm not a huge DBZ fan, but the game just looks really pretty and really good and a lot of fun to play.
They put out a couple more trailers for Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegeta. Yeah, that is a tongue twister and a half. And
In
Goku
English, just
Black.
super. Yeah,
Yeah,
in English,
Super Saiyan
it's
Blue.
just. Yeah, they thankfully do not say that in English. It's just Super Saiyan Blue.
Yeah. Whereas Goku Black is an arrogant ass, but when he turns into Super Saiyan Rose, he suddenly becomes snobbish and posh and British.
Yes,
Wait,
he
what?
is.
Yes, he suddenly
He-
becomes British.
It makes kind of sense in the Japanese in the English stuff, I guess.
I don't think you're
The
telling me.
Zamsu's character-
I don't think it makes sense at all. I think you're
I
lying
wouldn't
to me.
stretch that far at all.
Zamsu's character is really weird. I listened to Moscow X's coverage of that arc while it was going, but didn't actually watch it because I wasn't that interested. And it's just weird.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But yeah. So, that's out now, and that's the Nintendo Mini. And I've been talking forever. Do one of y'all want to take over?
Not really.
All right.
I don't have anything to say.
I suppose we mentioned a few things, but we can talk Pokemon, I guess.
Okay.
And more importantly, Niantic again. Them's dumb goofed.
Why do they keep
Well-
doing this? It's like they had a viral sensation and have managed to screw up every conceivable part.
Yeah, this one I'm kind of hesitant to lay entirely at their feet. I lay equal blame on this one for Apple. So you've got an update coming through for Pokemon Go, which will mean the game will no longer work on certain releases of iOS. Have fun.
I suppose to be fair, Apple likes to, pointlessly and arbitrarily change iOS regularly, just because they can and because they want to make their phones obsolete. Do you hear about that with the batteries?
Yep.
I could understand that, but yeah, it's something I suspected for a while, but it's just been confirmed.
Yeah, Apple's notoriously terrible. Anybody that gets a Mac or any Apple product, unless they're specifically getting an iPhone like I did because they need apps that are exclusive to iOS for like work and stuff, I discourage every Apple product ever. Nobody should buy an Apple product. Period.
No.
You're going to get screwed out of money. Or screwed out of features and have no control over the product. It's a dumb idea.
Yep, and you're going to pay way too much for the privilege.
Yes. Of having a logo.
Yes.
And no control. And no ownership of what you actually own.
Yep.
But all the people
So,
at the local Starbucks will think you are a cool guy.
I do not want to impress those people. They can have their irritatingly complicated coffees, which are basically just the barista just dumping a bunch of random chemicals into their cup.
Nah.
Nah.
Why is Roach talking to me?
I don't know.
What?
Why is Roach
Sure.
talking to you?
I don't know. Started tripping balls in Witcher 3, and then
Oh, you're
Roach
doing
is
Blood and Wine, are you?
Yeah,
So Geralt is on something interesting, is he?
Yes, he drank a potion, and Roach is talking to me, and I think I'm going to pause the game, because I actually want to hear the voice acting for this later.
It's very entertaining. I watched my flatmate play through that bit. It was very entertaining.
You have to worry when your horse starts talking to you.
Oh, Roach.
Considering what that Roach has to put up with during that game, he's probably got some interesting things to say.
It's funny, because he's the only line I've seen so far is Geralt going, "What? Aren't you a mayor? Why do you sound so deep and manly?" Or something like that. And Roach's response was, "'Cause you're an expert on how animals talk from all those animals you talk to." And we learned that the reason it's always Roach is he names all his horses Roach, apparently. That is on the screen right now.
They tell you that. They tell you that in the earlier ones as well.
Every horse is just Roach.
Roach. So
But
yeah,
how
I'll
many
put that on.
horses does he end up going through? Because I assume he goes through a few during Witcher 3.
You can change Roach out for a black stallion at one point, but I didn't do that.
Black Steel,
Because I thought it looked
Roach.
He
Yeah.
was an Roach.
I didn't like it. I didn't like how it looked, and it was just a cosmetic change, so I left it alone.
Fair enough. Alright, so
Anyway, that was a tangent.
that was a tangent. So yeah, on the good news-ish, we're getting a Western release of Detective Pikachu. Why is this game a thing?
You were
Because
laughing
Blizzard
too
is trying
hard.
to breathe new life into a mascot that no child knows anymore. Because it was for our generation.
So yeah, Detective Pikachu. Why?
I don't know.
Well,
Remember Hey You, Pikachu?
Detective Pikachu isn't a new thing. Like Detective Pikachu is like an old promotional thing for Pikachu that they rehabilitate now and again. So it's not a fresh new idea. The fact that they are making a full motion live action film of Detective Pikachu, on the other hand,
Is worrying.
Makes sense to me. It sells toys. Gotta sell them toys.
It sells all the toys. What else we got? I think that's just about it. I don't want to talk about this ongoing Magic the Gathering nonsense.
no. Well, I mean, it's basically just dirty linen. I mean,
Lots of it.
it's a problem, but Wizards of the Coast has always been basically Blizzard for cardboard. So I'm not really surprised that they're filthy.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I have on the list is pulling the bat out again to beat on Final Fantasy 15 again.
The Royal Edition.
A Royal Edition. So it got leaked, so we don't have all the details on it, but it apparently is the third release of the game, because we had the Digital Premium Edition previously, fourth release actually, the Season Pass Edition, which was different, and the Digital Premium and the standard release of the game. So this is the fourth release of the game that apparently includes all that stuff and more DLC, because they got to sell more DLC.
Well, I think that people are just assuming that that's what it is. I'm not sure that they actually know.
Yeah, we don't actually know what's in the Royal Edition, but I think it's a fairly safe bet it's more DLC, because they love their DLC. They weren't. Now, we have beat on it quite a bit, but I'll be nice to it once. There is a good chunk of single-player DLC they've done that's actually been free, so. And patched in the game for free. So.
The game was so short.
Yeah, they kind of needed to.
So would the Royal Edition, in theory, be the base game with those bits taken out, put back in, and then they sell you another layer of DLC on top of it?
Oh no.
So yeah, it's like the Game of the Year edition. So you get all that previous DLC put in back where it's supposed to be, and then they can sell you a whole fresh lot.
It's coming with episode Arden, though.
Oh, Arden.
Episode Dish Canoe.
He's so smarmy.
I've spent maybe 5 minutes in his company, and I wanted to punch him in the face.
Yeah,
He's so greasy.
He looks just...
Like there's no way he's not a bad guy. There's just no way.
No, he
it's
is
not possible.
A bad guy.
Like,
Nobody...
The moment you meet him, he's a bad guy.
A well-spoken hobo? No, that's a bad guy.
Nah, totally a bad guy.
Any hobo that can speak well is a bad guy. He looks like a hobo. I don't know. I don't know any other thing he looks like. He's covered in dirt. His fedora's a wreck, and he wears this tattered coat that's just dirty.
Yeah, he's still so smug and smarmy.
He acts like he's the coolest guy in the world with all this dirt all over him, and you find out why he's so literally dirty later. But, yeah, no, I don't want to play as Douche Canoe.
Nah.
Oh, God.
I don't think that they can hardly screw up the plot anymore, so I don't know.
Maybe this will be the magical DLC that actually explains how the rules of the universe work and ties everything together and makes the game perfectly make sense.
Nope.
No, it's not going to happen.
If they didn't do it for Final Fantasy 13, they're not going to do it for 15.
I would rather play Lightning Returns again than play 15 again. That's how bad it was.
Yeah, that's bad.
At least I can play dress up in that game, and it's fun. At least I enjoy the combat, and the combat is all based on playing dress up.
Ignoring the fact that the plot makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
It doesn't matter. You actively change your costume in battle to get new abilities. It's awesome.
Fine. Better idea. Go play X2.
No, I gotta buy the DLC. Oh, wait, X2? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
I
go
thought
play
you said
X2.
13. You were gonna say 13 too. I'm like, but I gotta buy the DLC for it too.
No.
I didn't understand anything that happened story-wise in that game either, but at least it felt like it knew what it was talking about.
Which one? X2?
No, 13-2.
Oh, 13.2, yeah. No, I had no idea what was going on there either. Or in 13.1.
13.1 made sense to me. It seemed it wasn't really well explained, but I could at least follow what was going on.
13, I felt it was a relatively simple story. The problem is that the implications which spun out from it that were detailed later didn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
It's like, we killed the bad guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but you broke the world in the process.
Yeah, good job, hero.
Now time travel.
Yep. And lightning time travels, but yet somehow everybody else does as well. What?
But they don't. And then Lightning puts on very pretty dresses and saves the world.
Yes.
And beats the real bad guy.
I'd rather go play with Pop Princess Yuna.
Yeah.
Which makes very much sense.
I need to play through 10.2 again. The remake, the HD collection includes 10.2 for 10.
Yes,
I should pick that up at some point. I got it for my cousin for Christmas.
Light-hearted, silly bits out of 10 and stuck them in their own game.
I got that one to 98% completion, and that's why I haven't got the heart to start it again.
That is not an easy task.
Yeah, there's only one scene that I didn't see, I think, one major scene in the stuff that spins out from it. But the 98% that I got was sufficient to get the golden ending. Or at least so much of it that I couldn't tell the difference between the two.
He's not imaginary anymore.
Oh dear!
But that game seriously has one of the most intricate Final Fantasy stories of any of them that I've ever played. Like the way they tell a different story, like it has more in common with a VN than it does with a Final Fantasy, because depending on the stuff you see and the choices you make, you get a different amount of story. Like if you do my first playthrough, I got like 46% completion or something, and it was just like you get to the end, you do the final dungeon, and you beat the big monster. And then it's like, hooray, we beat the big monster. Like, the story is incredibly simple, like that. But if you do huge amounts of farting about and don't miss any of the events, and you find out about all the characters and so on and so forth, things become more and more complicated, and you get more and more of the backstory, and it changes the way the characters act and think about things.
Yep. Yeah, I played it so long ago I don't remember. I don't think I got the gold ending in it.
It reviews very, very poorly for what I presume is the same reason that Nier Automata does.
Yeah.
Because people don't play beyond the first playthrough, and the story is quite simply different if you do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more than different in Nier if you're not done yet. You need to play through it 3 times. It's 3 different games.
Yeah, 3 different stories.
The third one continues from where Ending 1 and 2 leave off. Oh,
Go back and do it properly, you schmucks.
But they're games reviews. They don't do anything properly.
No, they don't.
So, I think we're rambling at this point.
We are, but we tend to at the best of times.
I can't think straight. It's too hot in here.
We should probably wrap up then before Vol melts.
I'm completely drenched in sweat. The thing is, it's not really that hot, but the problem is I'm shut in a very small room with no fan and no air conditioning.
Ew.
Oh dear. Alright, we'll
wonder.
save you so you can at least turn your fan back on. Alright, I think we're done, folks. Email topic of the week. You're not going to write to me anyway, so I'm not giving you one until you ask for it again. I'm serious. If you want me to keep giving it, you got to tell me you want it again. Because y'all don't write to us anyway. That makes me sad.
Missing No will ask just to troll us, that's the thing.
Email topic of the week. You like Final Fantasy 15? No, you didn't. Tell us why you hated it.
If you don't tell us that you hated it, well, we will be having words.
You better be prepared to back up those arguments.
We're going to have a sit down. Going to be a come to Jesus moment about why you need to not like that game.
Oh no.
Oh, okay. Those the comments go.
I'm still hyped for Monster Hunter World. There's actually a lot of really good stuff coming out in January. Like a lot.
It's like 2018's leaking over for 1 month. Maybe it'll keep going.
Yeah,
Or
I saw actually
2017's leaking over.
I saw comments this morning saying, "Oh, January is such a boring month." Have you looked at the list?
Yeah, Fighters and Monster Hunter are enough for it, and there's been a lot of smaller releases that I can't think of right now. Look really good.
I wouldn't mind getting my hand on Digimon Cyber Sleuth sequel. Like the first game of that was actually surprisingly good.
Everyone's talking about Lost Sphere too.
Yep, for the FNAR and everyone. Aw. Yeah. Closing comments for all.
Alter has a
Anything?
really flat chest.
Huh.
I'm just staring at the character select screen, so.
Not in the
Nice.
same thing, but okay.
I see. Be you a lass or be you a gent, you'll never pass on around to Gwent. Come play with me on PS4.
Would we get in trouble if I put that into the music rotation?
Yes, we will. Probably. Maybe
Probably.
not.
You might be able to write to them and get permission. It is on YouTube after all.
Yeah.
It is different enough from the song in game that I don't think it'll get tagged.
Yeah, well...
It's a completely different tempo.
Yeah, YouTube and Twitch tend to just tag things as a precaution and then sort it out later.
Yeah, audio tags are very, very bad. And how they do their tagging. They are notoriously terrible. But yes. So yeah, I think we're done. Folks, we'll see you next week at the same time, presumably. So, see you then. Sayonara, bye-bye. We done.
We done.
I'm still broadcasting though. Hold on.